NUFC Early Night News with Gary DeJordy Yum Yum, Andrew Bokey, Christina Cage, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. USA. NUFC Talk.
Good evening. Welcome, one and all. We have got Christina Tino with us. She's just having some techo issues as normal. No Mighty Win tonight, and I'm sure a few of you will be clapping your hands from what I could see and gather in the chat. Listen, the lad, he's got a passion for the Toon, as we all know. And like I say, Tino will be with us. It's been very quiet, mate. Are you okay, Bokey?
I'm good, yeah. I think, as you say in the chat, we need to keep it a little bit more respectful in regard to a couple of, in regards to especially, how we speak about each other and how other people speak about we. But, as you say, Wynn's a great fan of Newcastle United, and people will disagree with him, people will disagree with me, but let's just keep it a little bit respectful.
Indeed. I couldn't put it better myself. Like I say, from my point of view, it's opinions. It's subjective.
Yeah.
What people see in one thing, we can all watch the same game and we'll all have a different aspect of watching the same game. That's football. And that's why we all love it so much, I suppose. Like I say, from my point of view, if you can just do us one massive favour, well, two massive favours, smash that like button for us, subscribe if you haven't already, share it. And like I say, if you want to contribute towards members, be great. If you want to throw some super chats, also fantastic. But like I said, that part is up to yourself. But all you can do for us as a channel is smash the like buttons and subscribe. That is all we're asking for. Like I say, it has been a bit of a quiet one. So I'll start the show as I mean to go on, I suppose. Good evening, Geordies. I'm going to put this one as, or should I say survivors of the Eddie Howe is getting sacked. Oh, wait, he's not. It's a roller coaster. Honestly, this week, Newcastle United, rumours have had more twists than a Netflix crime drama. 1 minute he's out, next minute he's planning pre-season and picking the barbecue menu at Mafton Hall. Turns out the big emergency meeting was basically just, right lads, manager's still got a contract. Groundbreaking stuff. Yeah, cheers for that. Meanwhile, we've gone from 5th to 14th, well now 13th. Half the squad might leave. Someone thought the big upgrade fans wanted was new floodlights. Apparently not. Brilliant, because nothing fixed mid-table form like turning St James's Park into a nightclub. Right there, let's get into it, because there has been some breaking news this evening. And I think we'll get on with that first of all, because like I say, it matters, because it's all about behind the scenes, and it's in an area where this lad has probably been one of the standouts, especially since 2009 when he started at the club. Dr. Paul Patterson is potentially leaving Newcastle United for the Premier League CMO role, I should say. A promotion at league level, huge prestige. It's going to be a structural loss for Newcastle, though. A risk point in the rebuild, if you like, for the summer. This isn't just a club doctor that leaves. This is an institutional knowledge that's walking out the door. So for me, why does he matter so much, I suppose, more than fans realised? Well, like I say, he's been at the club since 2009. He's had multiple ownerships, regimes, philosophies, deep understanding of injury patterns, player recovery profiles, training load tolerances, played a role in diagnosing Eddie Howe's pneumonia in 25. He was also one of the innovators for the medical symptom tracking device, the app for COVID during the COVID era. So like I say, he's got a lot going behind him, this lad. The timing for me is the real problem, if you like, because like I say, on top of it comes the summer reset. It's likely a high turnover transfer window, squad needing physical reset and durability, ongoing concerns about injury record in recent seasons. There's been a lot of criticism about our medical staff, not as much as the Spurs one, though. I must admit that's been incredible what's been coming out from the Spuds at the minute. So if he leaves now, you risk disruption of pre-season planning, lack of continuity in player monitoring, and increased injury risk during tactical transitions. I mean, Ross Wilson James Bunce, who will lead the replacement process. That's important because obviously performance science background from Bunce, likely data-driven hire. Wilson's recruitment structure, alignment with the club model. So there's lots of planning still to do. The lad isn't out the door yet, but he has been put forward to be the one earmarked for the role. There's obviously more integrated performance lead, sports science, and plus the medicine hybrid, if you like. If they get this wrong, it shows up in hamstrings by October. That is the problem. Experience in elite load management systems. This is his profile. Strong integration with coaching staff. How his intensity is high. Proven record reducing soft tissue injuries, recurrent rates. Bonuses of how they've worked in high press systems, congested fixture schedules. This lad has gone through everything and tried to get the answer. Like I said, there's been a lot of criticism come their way, but it's not been the fact that he hasn't planned or tried to plan the best case scenario for Newcastle behind the scenes. Like I said, this is more background stuff. It's the noise that you don't always hear about. And to some, they probably wouldn't care less, if I'm honest with you. But it is, for me, a big factor in how Newcastle go forwards. Now, there's lots of candidates that could take this role, if you like. I mean, Dr. Charlotte Cowie, ex-Arsenal, she's a former club doctor, later FA head of medicine. She fits well within that type of structure. There's also Dr. Mark Gillett. He's the outgoing Premier League CMO. So he will also be of a good height to come straight in and reshape what Newcastle need. There's also James Calder. He's from the Fortius Clinic. He was the go-to surgeon for a lot of the elite footballers. He's a world-class, he's renowned world-class, I should say, in lower limb injury pathways, strong RT optimism thinking type of thing. He's very good on the lower limb stuff, ankle and foot, which seems to be obviously with football where you want your club doctors to be. There's also Peter Buckner. He's ex-Liverpool. Lot of, like I say, there's a lot of renowned people that can walk straight in, but what you lose is that continuity. So there's got to be relationships built straight away. So for me, being medical, if you like, it's a big part of the way I look at football these days. I don't just look at it from the aspect of players coming in and out. I also look at it from the science, the medicine, and everything else, because you need everything in the background. And, you know, we talk about structures within a club. And, you know, I was the one who was saying, I don't just blame Eddie Howe. I blame the boardroom. I blame players. I blame everybody. Because, again, you know, you've got to have a good base to get elite or even non-elite players to work at top levels. Guys, again, I don't want to overhype this. For me, a very good candidate for the CMO with the Premier League. I mean, like I say, I know it's not your field, but do you think this is going to hamper Newcastle going forward in any way?
You'll obviously know the players inside out, won't you? So you'll know the players that we've got. First, just to say it was, I thank you very much for your super chat there. Love one another, sisters and brothers, we are all as one. And I think that's a really good
Thanks, mate. Absolutely superb.
That.
Yeah.
I think you'll know the players inside out. It's the big problem. Did he take over from, was it Derek Verzatically? I can't see his name.
I can't remember his name, mate.
The old doctor, but
yeah, it was Zachary or something like that, wasn't it?
Zachary or Smith,
if I remember.
I think he was there. And I think he was there from the Keegan days. So this is obviously a role that's quite big in a club, and you know they stay for. It sounds like for quite a long time. They tend to stay in role, especially with us. So let's just hope if he is moving on, we'll wish him all the best, and we'll get somebody else in who's going to stay for the long term.
Yeah, Vazakali, Brian. There you go, spot on. Vazakali. There you go, spot on, Brian. Thank you, mate. I know it was Zachary, something like that. Didn't quite get my tongue around the R's. I never do that. Christina, I mean, bless you. I know you've had some tech troubles in the background there. I don't know how much you heard of my spiel. Is this something that you think will take Newcastle a bit of time to get over regarding players getting into that. You know, we've seen a massive change in Newcastle's presence on the field of play with James Bunce now coming on board. Is this a setback, losing Cattrall?
I mean, I think for most of the season we've said that what we need is a little bit of stability in like across the board in regards to staff. And I know there's been cries for some of the coaching staff maybe to change, but you know, when it comes to, because he works on the physio side, yeah.
Yeah, he's the chief medical officer.
Yeah. So it's like, on one hand, it would be better to keep a team together so that we could actually start building somewhere with everybody having the same idea, so that nothing keeps like chopping and changing behind the scenes, because we've had that happen at like every single level. But the flip side of that is that we've had a lot of injuries going back over the last few years. So maybe a change in medical staff's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, maybe there's been something going wrong. I think we've seen, as you mentioned, there has been a clear change in philosophy in regards to what I believe has been trying to nurse the players through the season. And again, we've had players in key positions. So, I mean, we've got to kind of hope that we get the right team together to a little bit more dependable in that area, and then hopefully that would then mean that we'd see that then progress onto it improving things on the pitch as well.
Yeah, incredible again, Prosaic. Thank you so much for gifting another member out there. He's top shell man. And when it comes to members, Emmett Griffin, that has come on too. So welcome on board, Emmett. And like I say, if you can do Prosaic a massive favour, give him a thumbs up. Thank you for joining us. And as well, it's another name that I haven't seen in the chat. So welcome on board. And if you can and are willing to do so, maintain your membership when it lapses. That'll be great. Moving on to more football-related stuff there. Like I say, there's the big thing come from the non-drama of Mafton Hall. It seems to have all come out now. Behind the scenes, it was more the fact that, you know, what actually happened. There was more of, it's like a debate versus reality. Howe was never really truly under threat from the noise that's coming from these conversations. It was like ownership stance, stability over panic. And the key quote coming from Piff was, "Manager with contract continues to have a contract." That is the quote when they were questioned by journos. So I suppose some if you like, we're going to go over a little bit of noise with this. If I'm honest with you, I do get to the point where I get sick of talking about the same thing over and over again. But was this ever a real crisis internally, or just media noise? I'm going to come to you first, Bowker.
Where are the standards when Newcastle United now? You know, where, you know, if there wasn't any talk about the coach, then where are the standards there? You know, surely enough, if you go into a season and you've progressed, you went back so much, you've regressed and went back so much, there should be at least some discussion about it. It seems like there was never ever any sort of discussion around Howe's future. If that's where we want to go, and we just want to keep going with the same old guy, and you know we're happy if he does anything basically, well, whatever he does, he's going to be the guy in charge. Then that's a dangerous place to be in for me. There's always got to be a little bit of pressure on a manager. You know, there's always got to be that little bit of, we want to see progression, we want to see things getting better. And the other problem is as well, do we trust Eddie Howe going into this season with a massive transfer pot? Because it looks like we're going to lose a few players. So even though he's not going to have a massive amount of money available from the club, there's going to be, you know, profits made from players, and that's going to come to Eddie Howe to get players in. Do we really trust him after the last transfer window?
I'm going to come into.
I hear what people are saying about, you know, people can we get somebody better? And, you know, what is an elite manager? I think the thing is, can we get somebody who can do a better job in transfer windows and who can progress on the pitch? And Obviously, you know my thoughts on that, but if people don't think that, that's fine. We'll go with what we've got and we'll see what happens next season. But I think there's going to be some very disappointed people on this channel at the start of next season.
Actually, I do think that this has probably got more to do with finance, but I'm going to come on to that in a minute because I have looked into that part as well. So, Christina, is this the club choosing stability or avoiding a costly decision?
I would imagine stability is the top priority. I think when it comes to replacing the manager, although it can be costly, it's something that you can kind of fix. Although it does end up costing you a bit of money, which obviously Tottenham and Chelsea have discovered this year. But you know, if you bring the wrong person in, you can always end up replacing them. In regards to like keeping Eddie Howe as manager, I mean, he has given the club, you know, 4 ecstatically good years, and has now worked with a team and worked with those players. And I guess part of the thought might be if you get rid of him now, then you're kind of undoing that work. And I get where people are coming from, like, you know, the season's not being good, if Eddie's job was never in question. And I don't think he was ever safe from any criticism. I mean, I think there has been, and I don't know if it's just something that I've seen that a journalist made up or if it's legitimate, but there was apparently a few things that have been put on Howe for staying in that position and what they expect to see change under his leadership going forward. And just to kind of push back a little bit on Bogey's point about do we trust Eddie Howe with the transfer windows? Well, the only thing that I would say is that all the players that you're scared of losing this summer have all got one thing in common, and they were all signed under Eddie Howe's time here at Newcastle United. So, you know, it shouldn't be his job primarily to bring players in. I don't think that's worked, and there should definitely be more input. But generally speaking, over the past 4 years, he's brought in some really good talent into the team and given us players who we've all kind of fallen in love with.
It's a seesaw kind of effect. It's a seesaw kind of effect, though, isn't it? Because, you know, we keep saying that Eddie Howe has to be involved in transfers, so he's going to have some say in the transfers that are coming in. But in regards to that, you know, do we trust him actually with those transfers? So it's a really different one. Should we do those quick couple of super chats?
We will, indeed.
Okie, don't fret. It can't be worse. Who's in? Sorry, don't fret. I can't be worse with who's in place. And adds another super fan. I can't bring them up, Gary, at the minute. But Okie,
no, I'll bring them up.
Stress levels can't take any more. You know, that's a big thing. You know, we know Eddie's a notoriously slow starter. If we go into next season like this, I really worry where this goes with the fans. You know, if we don't, we're not going to have a great end to this season, let's be honest. If we go into next season, it's a slow start. You know, what happens next season? Are we the next Tottenham Hotspur or the next West Ham of this league?
Yeah, I think, like I say, there's a number of things that we have to look at, and you know, for me, doing this, hosting the show, if you like, it's about trying to get balance. It's about trying to just don't want to just be the type of person to look in one direction and say, well, there's the you know, that's the fall, if you like. I try and create something where, you know, there's a discussion, there's counterparts to every single action. I've always said there's 2 sides to every, you know, to every coin, if you like. But we are at this point now looking into, like you say, the summer, with that risk. You know, there's lots of people now that have lost faith in this, in the current setup, if you like, in the current regime. But is it about finances? Now, again, I did a little bit of work. It wasn't a lot of work because I just didn't have the time. But let's just go the fact that Eddie Howe has still got 3 years remaining on his contract. And each year he earns £6 million, right? Now, in the next season, 26-27, SCR comes into play. That's the squad cost ratio, right? So what it would cost Newcastle to sack Eddie Howe is simply £18 million. That's gross liability. Obviously, that could be. He could also claim a little bit more regarding bonuses, because it depends on if they look at where he took us in the last couple of years. There may be some type of things, even though he hasn't got anything like that this year. He could say, well, looking at the future, I have given you European football 2 out of 4 years, which has increased, your stakes heavily. Again, it depends on what side of the coin you look at, and again, what paper you read. Like the Shield Gazette was saying that it's going to be a minimum of 18 million, but it could go up to 20 million. Other people say it's going to be around about 15 million, because he'll do it with a bit of a handshake and a thank you very much. But that to me isn't the thing. I think it's more not catastrophic. It's manageable, but it's not ideal in this current situation. So when you look at it, like managers' wages, coaches' wages are all part of the football costs now. So all of this has to be put in under this new SCR ceiling. So again, you think of Newcastle are already near their PSR ceiling now, and this season, no Europe, commercial revenue nowhere near the big six, 0 player sales of significant last summer, apart from Isaac. High wage base now compared to the rest of them, even though we know we are nowhere near the big lads. We are still hitting high when it comes to our commercial revenue. So adding that 18 million in compensation could tighten what's already difficult summer window.
On that, how much could it cost if we get this decision wrong? How much does it cost already with the transfers that he's done? How much did it cost? It cost 230 odd million last season. Players that aren't getting in the team. So you're looking. You've got to look at how much it costs to get rid of him. But 20 million at the end of the day is peanuts, considering how much we may spend this summer.
There you go. I've got that one. In Monopoly, we're in jail and skint. There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. And listen, that's what I said. I'm only looking at, and this is where I go to. There's been some deliberation regarding why wasn't Anthony Gordon playing on Saturday. Now, what's come about that? And we're going to get into the Anthony Gordon story in a minute, because it was again. There's an interesting twist to this saga, and again, people will look at it and say, this is the reason. We don't know the facts, and I don't know whether this has got any factual sense behind it. I just feel the way Newcastle have been this season when it comes to European football, to domestic football, to the way we've put blankets around certain players at certain times, it seems very much as though we are in the pot of finance figures now. We're more accounting than we are footballing. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like to me. So, yes, you're right. This 18 million quid, it's peanuts to these owners. Absolute peanuts. But it's not peanuts when you look at the SCR in relation to that squad cost ratio. Because that, if say we've got a 60% haul, say like, we've got somewhere in the region of 60% bracket, and the money that it goes out to Eddie Howe, again, it gives you that extra 5% off your budget. That's less targets that you're looking at. So again, I'm looking at it as an open book. I'm not looking at it down single lanes, if you like. I'm trying to open up my vision and say, if I was the owners, what would I be looking at trying to do? And that's keep the finances in control and not losing money hand over fist. Like I said, this going forward could be could go on. And like you said, does the risk outweigh the gamble to win? Well, only time will tell, mate. And that's the big thing for me. The time is in Eddie's side. If he can produce the goods as he has done previously, then fair play. They've made the right choice. If he doesn't, and they have to get rid of him after 10 games, we're in the same situation. That is the problem.
Can we just say at the chat, no £20 million isn't peanuts. It's
not.
A lot of money.
We're talking about. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it in my pocket.
So yeah, exactly. So we'll get what you're saying about it not being peanuts, and I completely agree. It is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But in footballing terms, it's not. It's next to nothing. 20 million over the next 3 seasons to get rid of Howe. But It's not going to happen. But we keep going round on the point of how he's staying. He's here next season.
Yeah, that's it.
Do I agree with it? 100% not. I think things will get worse and worse and worse.
Well,
I
that's a
don't see
positive
any
outlook.
progression. Well, how do you want us to be positive? What positive signs have there
please,
been over this
smile.
season? Well, you can't smile, you can laugh, you can come on here. I'll go out in the summer, and I'll still go to matches. I love it, love going to matches. But what changes do you see happening in the way Eddie Howe's developing the team or squad? That you go into next season with your chest puffed out. I don't see anything at the minute.
Yeah.
I don't see any change. And that's my big problem.
No, you're right. Yeah, I think that's everybody's big problem this season. They just haven't seen enough positivity from the club. And again, it's gone stale regarding what's going on behind the scenes as well. It's just a catalyst, if you like, of everything that's going on. Going to go through to a couple of start. Brian saying it's like going to a car boot sale on the moor. The excess gloom on player faces is growing, especially the subs bench. Yes, mate. Yeah, absolutely right. Gary Simmerstead is saying the regression is with the summer signing, and that's had a huge impact that not many of us would have predicted after it being what many of us thought a good window. Yeah, and I think that is also spot on, buddy. Nothing really changed. Like I said, there's not been a lot of news out there, so I thought I'd be a little bit different today, and I was under no illusion. I mean, I've sent these guys in the chat, in the group, something that I've worked on, and I've tried to put in everything that Newcastle are at this present moment in time regarding a job description. And I thought, you know what? Rather than us, you guys in the chat, have your ideas of who the next manager could be, I threw a job description about Newcastle. Now, it was quite in-depth. I mean, you guys agree with that? I didn't leave much out, did I? I tried to make it as succinct as I possibly could regarding the job itself at Newcastle United. And I thought I'd throw it at AI. And I thought, you know what? Let's give AI the chance to give us the best it could. I never guessed it was top of the list.
Me?
Amarim.
Gary,
And I'm like, wow.
I read right through that job description. How many of them points do you think Eddie Howe actually meets?
Well, like I said,
Based it on this season, and in all seriousness, how many points does Eddie Howe meet this season based on those points?
he doesn't meet many, mate, does he?
Exactly.
What
That's a
about the
big
previous 4 years, though?
That's what I said.
Yeah,
You can't.
back.
You can't just look at it from this year, and that's the thing. And there's a massive question.
The last 4 years.
Yeah, there's a massive question. You talk about regression and everything else. Is how much has Eddie Howe got in the bank? I mean, Noel says in the chat there, he's only won a cup and took us to European competitions. To some,
Saved us some
that,
relegation and bought Bruno and Tonali.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. To some, that isn't enough. For me, having watched us do nothing in my lifetime, I mean, absolutely nothing, apart from yo-yo back and forth in leagues, it's good. It means that we are moving forward. And you are going to have transitional seasons where you just don't do what is expected. The team that is supposedly going to be winning the Premier League in 2030. It looks like we'll be winning the Championship more than we'll win the Premier League at this rate. I mean, that's what I said, and that's how quick people fall off the wagon a little bit because the belief gets blown out of you, gets knocked out of you. And again, Eddie Howe doesn't come out of any of this without having the finger pointed at him. It is true.
He won with a cup. I completely that, and there's nobody can sit here and deny it. He won with a cup. He's got with UEFA Champions League. You guys are right. Did he save from relegation? Yes, he did. He was a great manager to that point. But where's the progression now? On that sort of trajectory, you want to keep progressing. He spent an awful lot of money. He got his own way in the summer. He got what he wanted. When people at the start of the summer were saying it was a great summer, things were everything was going great. Where's he actually took with this season? yes, people talk about the last 16 of the Champions League. I don't think that's particularly a massive thing with the way that Champions League's set up now. I think it would have been more of a disappointment if we hadn't got to the end of if we hadn't got to the last 16 of the Champions League. And look what happened when we came up against the big team when we got there. Look what happens when we came up
Yeah,
against big teams in the cup. We haven't progressed. Yeah, that's what you
we're
want. You want,
we were miles away. But I
yeah,
do think a lot of that comes down to, again, I do blame some of the tactical load that Eddie Howe puts on them. It just doesn't change, and it's easy for opposition coaches to see through you. I understand all that, and like I say, sometimes that. I've just had news come through. I'm going to pause for a second. Marca are reporting that Barcelona have pulled out of the race for Anthony Gordon after being put off by his high 80 million fee. Newcastle are wanting for the Newcastle stroke English international. Barcelona will now target El Junior Krupi from Bournemouth, the one that I wanted in a black and white shirt, I must admit. Thank you so much. Just like is that Jesus, how will resurrect and rise again. Thank you, mate, for that one. Was that? Listen, like I said, only time will tell. Whichever way you look at it, whichever side of the fence you sit on, only time will tell.
There is a little bit
But
of
like I say,
context that I could put on this
go
just
on.
before we move on from that, if it's okay. So
Of course it is.
obviously, you've got to look at the kind of the long game here, okay? PIF aren't here to just kind of like throw chips at the table. We are aware that we are way off commercially at the moment. We are aware that the foundations are still very much being built for this project. You've got a manager who offers some stability and who offers not massively overpriced wage demands in himself, and he was already bought in a few players that he likes. Okay, so if he's had a bad season, we're aware of that. You've had to talk to him. You've told him what's expected from him going forward. He's got a better backing staff now, and he's got a hopefully less turbulent summer ahead of him. So if you were to bring in a new manager right now, this new manager wants his own players. First of all, you've got to settle Howe's contract, so that costs you 20 mil straight away. You've got to then pay an elite manager's wage, which is going to be a lot more than 6 million per year. You've got to then bring in that person's players, and we do not really at this point have the financial pulling power to deliver what a Xabi Alonso, a Zidane, a Jose Mourinho even could potentially, that we would suppose that these type of people could bring to the club. It would still be within the same constraints. So why waste the move now? Like if there's a chance that Eddie can turn this around, you may as well go with the safer option rather than trying to build things. Like you can't build a roof before you've built a wall. Basically, is what I'm saying there. If it all goes wrong at the start of next season, if they're given that chance, if they tell them what's expected, and next season also starts terribly, then at that point they can be like, okay, we've got no other choice. We need to pull the trigger on this. It's kind of like when you're thinking, should I get a new car? And your old car's silver, and you think, I shouldn't really get a new car. And then the more you're thinking about it, then all of a sudden your clutch goes. And you look at getting the fix. It's like it's thousands of pounds to get that fixed, and then you realise one of your brake pads is knackered. So you think, you know what it is? Time to pull the trigger. I'll take the hit to my finances. I'm going to buy a new car. That's probably how we should look at this. We're not in a position to Manchester City this or Chelsea this, where we can just bring in the top coach, let them go wild, bring in all of the top players in the world, and enjoy a dynasty that's going to last for many, many years ahead, while we avoid charges from the FA. But we can definitely still make this. And just because Eddie Howe's staying this summer doesn't mean he's going to actually be the manager for the next 3 years. It means a manager who has performed well gets another chance under hopefully better conditions to make a better start this season. Do I believe that we can do it? Absolutely. We started last season without either of our fullbacks and 0 strikers. It's going to be difficult to start the season in a worse position than that. So I think it's definitely worth looking at it in context, and under that gaze, you would have to say, well, you wouldn't have to, obviously you can have your own opinion, but I would say that it's probably not a terrible decision for PIF to stick with Eddie Howe for the time being.
I love the car analogy. Yeah, I absolutely love that car analogy, we've got a Ford Focus at the moment or a Ford Mondeo, steady down the road, it'll keep, doesn't change much, it doesn't, not fast, not great, but, it's a nice car. It's got all the little knobs inside that you want to play with, but we can go for a car.
What?
We can go for a Porsche.
I nearly swallowed that.
We can go for a Ferrari, of a car, so it gets you down the road a lot quicker. So if we're going to as a club, you can tootle along in a Ford Focus if you want for years and years and years, or you can take a chance and get a Ferrari or an Aston Martin's probably the more thingy one because they're the ones that break down all the time. Yes, it might not be as reliable, but it'll get you to where you want to go a hell of a lot quicker.
Well, allow me to retort. I get it, and I appreciate you pulling back with a car analogy to me, but I had anticipated somebody coming back with this, and I do have another answer. How long do you drive, Buggy?
Yeah, I can drive.
Right. How long ago did you pass your test? Roughly, you don't have to expose your age or anything.
1997, 1998. So
1,998 years ago. No, I'm joking. I haven't misunderstood the maths this time.
1998. When the hell was that? 30 odd years ago? 28 years ago.
So
38 years ago.
When you
1986, me. It makes me sound really bloody old.
Okay, so when you first learned to drive, did you go out there and buy a Porsche? No, if you were anything like me, and I got advice from people who had driven for many years, their advice was, don't buy the best car you can get. Buy a little runaround for the first few years, get used to driving, you're gonna accidentally back into things, you're gonna curb your car. I didn't because I was a better driver than them. But you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna park in a place that you shouldn't park, you're gonna, there's a chance you could catch something. Iron out all of the creases in your driving skills before you buy a Porsche. And also, as well as that...
Hang on, I was a little chav and I bought a Peugeot 206 and used to absolutely rallied around the roads near the bike beehive and things and down the coast.
We
used to go up to Kiel de Forest in a Mini and have a right session in Kiel de Forest, just like as a kid.
Absolutely bomb around the coast in Whitley Bay. So, in regards to that, just go out and buy the best car you can and let it go,
I'll tell you something now, there's a cracking road. I don't know whether many people know it. It's called the Beehive and it's up by St Mary's Lighthouse. Yeah, the Beehive, mate. I'll tell you something now. We used to close the road off. We used to have spotters either side of it.
It's only 40 miles an hour. It used to be 60. Used to be.
I'm going to say 40 miles an hour was cruising. Yeah, it was never. We used to have the Beehive was classic along there. But like I say, Kiel de Forest is where we used to go. And my mate was Spanner. He used to. I don't know why we called him Spanner, to be fair, because he wasn't a mechanic. He just knew about engines. Maybe that was the reason. He built this really modified old Mini Cooper S. It was a hell of a car, I must admit, and it was quite nippy. Anyway, we're getting off the summer rebuild, I suppose, is the next place to be. Like I say, this is going to be a reality check, I think, for most of us. Possible loss of 3 to 6 players. That seems to be.
Could take off on Top Gear, couldn't we? There's a career.
We could.
BBC, if you're watching,
there you go.
Call us.
Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Aging squad pockets. Everybody's talking about. We need to reduce the age. We've obviously now got confidence issues. We need to see what's happening with the likes of Voltamada, who's just got his big contract, if you like. So, like I said, he's going to see how these next 3 games go before he makes a decision. Last thing Newcastle need at this present moment in time, lesson from last year, Isaac. We certainly don't want players. We haven't got a squad big enough for me for players to down tools and not want to play. Sell high value assets, target relegated teams for value. Avoid another panic window because that's something we'd really need to look at. Interesting look from the Chronicle. They've done some transfer targets from the relegation scrap, if you like. And this seems to, in one sense, go hand in hand with where Newcastle have already been, if you like. I mean, you've only got to look at the likes of Tino from Southampton. But it does look to me as though the likes of Jared Bowen has been questioned about whether he would be available if obviously West Ham disappeared. Age is against him, unfortunately, and obviously the price that he'd come with would also be a problem. But he has already proven himself in again a lower club, if you like, and has proved himself time and time. He's probably good value for money. The other one that would potentially be a Gordon replacement, Somerville. He seems to be the one, and obviously the young player in midfield, Freddie Potts. He's a development player, and again, you've said this many times, Boki, if you like, you're always in that situation where we shouldn't be a training club anymore. We should be a club that's taking and leading by example. We haven't got time to train, I think was your words. How do these young kids then that you've also vied for get trained to become players for the future? Oh, I've lost everybody. I don't know what's going on tonight. We're losing. Ting! All I keep hearing is ting, ting, ting in my ears as you come back. Did you hear what I asked you, Boki, or did you lose that as you dropped off there? All right, mate. I've just said
complete comms there.
Oh, that's no worries. I was talking about the young development players, the likes of Freddie Potts, out at West Ham. He's a development player. Obviously, somebody likes or teams like West Ham are more or less forced into these development players. But it's been one target for you, where you've mentioned that we shouldn't be a training club, like as in Eddie Howe shouldn't now be having these seasons where he's going to learn a lot from it. I'm a firm believer you learn more from your mistakes than you ever will from what you get right, if I'm honest with you. But if that is the situation, and again, you look on the other foot, you're a firm believer in bringing you through. So under pressure, Eddie, when would he feel comfortable to look at these development players and feel comfortable enough to play them?
Never. No, you look at this. This has been a development season for we. We could have tried out younger players this season. The Carabao Cup we should have potentially said. I know Wayne absolutely hates us saying this, and he'll be spinning wherever the hell he is this evening with us saying this. But if the Carabao Cup was the one that you could have sidelined a little bit this season. But we didn't do that. We didn't sort of look at how many games we were going to have and what issues it was going to cause, and we didn't rotate the squad. And that's been the massive issue. I think that's what's caused so many injuries, is that we just played players week in, week out at the start of the season, and then moving forward, it's come back to slap we. It's come back to kick we hard that, players were played too much and didn't get a chance. Do you think the same, Tino, or do you disagree with that?
I think there should have been more rotation, and especially maybe, like you said, one of the cup competitions we maybe should have, mugged off a little bit. But the one thing that I think stands out to me about rotation is that we started the season really badly, and since then we've been kind of playing catch up. So I think that's possibly factored in the decision of why there's not been any real squad rotation to speak of at the start of the season. Obviously now we're seeing a little bit more. But sorry, I thought Gary was saying something there. But at the same time, when it comes to like the players that Gary's naming there, we have brought in talent that would have been considered developmental at the time, and then started using them in our first team. So, namely, Lewis Hall and Tino was probably a bit more of an established player than Lewis Hall was, but I would say both of them were still very much coming from being like developmental understudy players, and then they became like first team regulars in a Premier League club at us. So although we've not seen a lot of rotation, certainly not a lot from our youth setup in our Premier League team this season, I don't think that necessarily reflects that we wouldn't see these players being used if Eddie was to bring in some of these younger players from other teams.
Do you think Eddie Howe, if next season, if he does, obviously it looks like he's going to stay. Do you think part of the premise has to be now that he is going to try the youngsters and he is going to get them in the squad? He is going to be that guy that, can sort of pick the right player and pick the right games where you do try youngsters and you do, rotate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably going to be part of like these kind of demands, if you want, that demand housings for any WWE fans in the audience. I think that will probably be part of it because we clearly need to, like, we've heard that the idea moving forward is to develop players and not have players who are all like over 25, 26, who are already established. Like, I think we've heard it a couple of times that the idea is going to be to develop younger talent, and maybe the current pool of players in the youth sides that we've got, at least at the level where you could bring them into the senior team, which would be like under 21. Maybe he just wasn't as impressed with those players as we would have liked. I think looking at a couple of the players that we've got away on loan and looking at the under 18s and then the 15s team, I think that there's players there that eventually will hopefully start getting fitted into the team. I would imagine that the issue then there is that still going to be under Eddie Howe, but the only one that really makes a big question mark for me is that Sean Neave was never given a chance, and he's been absolutely banging them in when he's been given the chance for any of the second string or under 21 teams. But I would think, well, I would hope that part of the idea is that Eddie Howe does start using a bit more of his squad. Maybe it's just a trust with you.
Yeah, just before we get back on track here, Tina, I think Neve stood no chance when you look at the fact that we've got a £69 million German international on the bench and he doesn't get a chance whatsoever.
No, I mean, at the start of the season,
I think that's the problem.
Definitely in like the cup competitions though, and like at the start of the season when we had nobody. I mean, I get that he's a young lad, but you would have thought maybe 5 minutes here. You remember when we first signed Waldemara and Wissa was injured, and we just had a run of games where we only had Waldemara. And by the end, like I've said, he looked really tired by the end of that. That would have been the time where I would have thought, 5 minutes here or there. But like I said earlier on, we didn't really have a good enough start of the season where we were having games where we could be like, oh yeah, let's give Sean Neave 5 minutes, because we were just struggling so much at that point. Is Gary back with us?
I think the main man's back. Can you hear me, Gary?
I can. I apologise. My internet went off, and I didn't hear much of your conversations. Apologies. I did send you a private message, mate, just to say carry on, because my internet had just done. I didn't know whether it was you because I could see me on the screen, but I couldn't see you guys. So apologies to everybody in the chat.
I think we might be having a few gremlins tonight in the system.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy as always. Yeah. So as I was saying, there is lots of players out there, short-term impact, I suppose, if you're going to go long-term planning. And I think that is where you've got to be. You've got to look at these teams that are potentially going down. I mean, Burnley, you look at there's a couple of Burnley players that I want to look at. Marcus Edwards, flair but inconsistent output. But he could be under Eddie Howe's guide, if you like, could be a good one. Maxime Esteve, defensive resilience, he's another one, again, just to support that defensive line. And Quilinci Hartman, a reliable fallback. So, again, these teams that are going down, there is players within them that can still support the likes of Newcastle. Like I said, I wouldn't think you should close the doors from relegation fodder. I've heard so much in the past about the likes of Trafford, Trafford sent them down and all this. And yet there's still light at the end of the tunnel for James Trafford. Hugo Bueno is another one, the Wolves target for me, for its positional need. And Mateus Mane, he's high upside, high competition. And I think he's an exciting young player. Again, two players from Wolves. And obviously, you're always going to have that Spurs link, James Maddison. potential. For me, he's too risky regarding injuries. And again, he's another player that seems to down tools quicker than he wants to play. The other one that seems to be DX's go-to was Archie Gray. He seemed to be the one on everybody. But again, I don't know whether he has struggled because he's played in so many different positions, such a versatile young player. But is he going to be the answer for Newcastle going forward? Not 100% sure. But these are potentials that you could look at. Now, I did want to have a... what was I say there? Gaz's computer is...
Run off a hamster wheel, poor thing.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, it's a black country hamster, so it's quite happy.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Yeah, Yozza. Yeah, that's what we've got. Two hamsters. One's called Yozza. He's a classic. I keep saying that. He's the laziest little thing I've ever seen. I must admit. I mean, listen, pay. So yeah, Noel's saying pay the bill, Gaza. I need to, mate. I think going on to this goalkeeper issue, Verbruggen seems to be the hot topic at the moment, and again alongside James Trafford, who seems to be the one that's always in Eddie Howe's books. Now he's turned full circle and said he'd love to come and play for Newcastle.
Didn't see off the bench at Man City.
Yeah, that's what I said. These players go to these different clubs. They expect to be, in the limelight all the time. I mean, listen, Manchester City did have the recall, I suppose, or the first clause in his contract when he was at Burnley. But he still had a decision. And again, I'll go back to Newcastle. There was plenty of opportunity for Newcastle to go and close that deal with Burnley. It was just too much, to in and fro in regarding prices and everything else. This is a player, and this is why I agree with you, Boki, at times. When you go and pay high odds for overage players, the likes of Wissa, and you spend that amount of money, and yet this up and coming talent still got loads of years in his pocket, if you like. I just think they should have just dealt with it, got it done, got him on board, and let's go forward with it. Like I say, for me, I think
let's face that we all know that should have happened with Wissa last season. Whether you think Wissa was a good sign and a bad sign or whatever, now we could have got that lad a lot cheaper at the start of the window if it went in with a higher price, and the inflated price we ended up playing at the end because we were so desperate. That's the big problem is, we've got to have a better window this season. We know how many positions we need players in. We have to go out there and be ready to get those positions covered off. And then if anything happens and players are leaving, it's not just a stress. But if, for example, if Tino goes because, Arsenal, Man City or someone come in with a massive price and we haven't bought a right back, there's absolutely no answer or no excuse for that. Because we all know we need at least another right back anyway. Same with Hall, same with Tino. We've got to be ready, already have players coming through the door at the start of the window, not do this whole thing that we do where we hold off towards the end.
Yeah, I must admit, though, I have to go back to that one because we all heard the interview that, I want to say Nicholson, who's this? What's his surname again? Bloody CEO. I could never.
Hodgkinson.
Hodgkinson. I always want to say Nicholson. I don't know why. Hodgkinson. We saw that interview where he was talking about the what Eddie Howe was offered in January, and and when we say he was offered a potential to go and sign somebody, but at the time Eddie Howe seemed to suggest that he had enough players, and again, you must be talking about the likes of Miley filling in the right back situation. You've got Trippier, you've got Tino that could bounce over to left back. You've got Dan Burn also in the chat there, I suppose. So there was, I could understand I could understand the argument, but I think you just literally, as we've seen now, you take one player out of that multitude of names I've just mentioned, and you're struggling again. And then all of a sudden, the fill-in boy, which is Miley, gets cropped, and now you're down to like your bare minimum right back, and that is it. I mean, I know Malik Chow can go in there, and you can shuffle players across. But then all of a sudden, Dan Burn comes in, and that you're down to your last final three centre backs within the squad. And listen, there's 3 games to go. It's not all doom and gloom. I know it's not. But what I'm saying is, you are leaving yourself open to have yourself questioned, and I think that is what everybody's been doing this season. It's just been a lot of questions. People with opinions. People have what they believe is the answer. And again, to me, it's all about supporting Newcastle United. And like I said, if the board are happy with Eddie Howe, then, he's got to come out and prove that he's the right man for the job. That is the top and bottom of it.
Can I just do
Chris,
super there from Wazza?
Go,
Let the yummy see the hammy. I can't flash it on screen.
No, that's
yummy see the hammy. Tino will probably be annoyed with that one, but
let the yummy see the hammy. I mean, Gary Sibblesty is saying we have the experienced players in the squad. We need to get some youth around squad that have played a season of men's football, that have thrived in their respective leagues. And this is how we get close as we close the gap. Again, I can't disagree with that. There's another one that I saw that I wanted Hopkinson. They're all telling me now it's Hopkinson. I don't know why I want to keep calling him Nicholson. Ads is saying, Gary, if Eddie keeps Pope, Byrne, Willock and Murphy and still plays them in the starting 11, how can you defend that?
That was my
teams always improve.
That was my biggest worry from the weekend, was the fact that Eddie Howe was in a corner, and where did he go? He went back to the 3 players that he could possibly pick that were here when he first started. He didn't try to progress or anything. He didn't try to use new players. His automatic reaction was to backtrack and, to regress and go back to the players that have been here and are tried and tested.
And we won 3-1.
We won 3-1, but
That kind of worked, didn't it?
But you sit and watch that game again. I sat and watched it the other day again. Yeah, we weren't impressed, and we weren't a great team, and we were bloody lucky that Brighton didn't put the chances away.
No, that's what I said. If the chances had have fallen the other way, mate, I think it would have been a lot closer than the scoreline suggests. If anybody's interested, PSG are beating Bayern away at 1-0. Crikey, I've just having a quick look at the goal they've scored. Like I say, overloaded at the back stick. Funny how we created a lot of chances against PSG, and we didn't really give them a lot. But when you see these teams up against some top teams, they seem to do really well against them. So as I said, I can't criticise Eddie Howe too much because of what I've seen in Europe. It's not been a bad. I mean, Barcelona was one of them games. Second half was just. It's just criminal the way the lads just turned off in that second half. And again, I've got no excuse for that. But if anybody in the chat, there's like say 3 keepers' names that now seem to be up for grabs. Bart Verbruggen, James Trafford, and Rissa should be the 2. The 3 players that Newcastle seem to be the go-to, if you like. Is Nick Pope still the long-term number 1? No. I wouldn't mind Nick Pope as a number 2, though,
Can I ask you guys as well? This is a question. What game have we won this season that we shouldn't have? So what game have we went into this season that we should not have won, but we've won?
Wait, I think there's Brighton. I'm going to give you one from the weekend. If you look at stats and stats only.
No, but
Brighton.
That's a terrible example, to be perfectly honest. If you're saying you shouldn't be beating Brighton at home as Newcastle United,
They've just spanked Chelsea and Liverpool.
That shows you how far we've gone backwards. In all
But
seriousness,
it doesn't. It does show you how far Brighton have gone forward, though, as well,
Been
doesn't it?
watching football this season, Pokey.
But in all
Did you know it
seriousness,
started back last year?
in all seriousness, what game do you go into this season thinking, we've won that game and we shouldn't have won it? And I mean because we were better than the opposition, not because the opposition were better than us. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I do. There's probably. Well, I didn't think they were better than us. I thought we really. I think we turned up for certain games. But there's been games. I mean, how many times did we say this last season, though? How many times did we lose games that we absolutely dominated? And Brighton was one of them, believe it or not, when we lost 1-0 to Welbeck.
I love that from was that Nick Pope was definitely a number 2.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But like I say, I wouldn't mind him as a number 2 if that's.
I think that's his best position.
Gone are the days that you get numbers on shirts with 2 at the right back now. I mean, like I said, it is something where you've got to start looking at alternatives, and for me, Newcastle need evolution or loyalty in goal. I mean, I think that to me is where we have got to get rid of and offload all these goalkeepers. There's going to be lots of noise about Oddie, I must admit, coming up, because I think he's definitely going to pull the plug on some of these so-called promises. And move on. May not be with Seville, but he'll certainly move on. And like I say, we know the likes of Ruddy will go, Gillespie will go. 3 keepers is all you need at a club. I've never understood a club that needs 6 keepers anyway. Regardless of how much money they're on, it just doesn't make sense, especially when you're short everywhere else on the field. And to me, what is a modern day keeper now? He's got to be everything, hasn't he? He's got to be a footballer as well as a keeper, and I think they're hard to find, mate. And that's why I think Eddie Howe wants Trafford, because he's probably the best player that you could reach regarding the cost wise.
There's one thing they have to have as well. They have to be able to don a dressing gown and look like a supermodel. That's the most important thing at Newcastle at the minute.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the thing I would look for is
he looked like Fury more than he did a footballer.
He did actually, Or who's the guy that does the other channel that rants all the time?
Who's that?
The Geordie, what's he called? One that does
the Geordie
Brian, you mean?
Brian,
True Geordie.
True Geordie, Proper shout out. He looks a little bit like him with the hair.
Yeah, Jason Tindall modelling dressing gown. I mean, I know there's been some. What, with Jason Tindall?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Anyway, let's go to this Lime Stadium upgrade reaction then, because this has caused a little bit of a bit of saga. New floodlights and potential light shows. There's been some real negative reactions from some of the fans. We don't need this atmosphere versus entertainment. And somebody said, which was very, very true, you don't need lights to bring atmosphere. You need noise and flags, and we've already got that. And again, is this the right thing to invest in, or again, is this just a smoother, like I say, this dangling of the carrot to soften the blow a little bit? Because again, there's no news regarding stadium rebuilds or anything like that. Is this all just a softener?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a softener as such. I think it's the direction that the sport's going. A lot of teams now have that, and we don't. And there has been grumblings about, the pre-match build-up isn't really an excitement builder. I know we've tried a little bit with the music this season. And we do have those war flags displays, which are absolutely fantastic. But we could probably do to, get the music right, and a bit of a light show, and, maybe a bit of pyrotechnics. It can add to the grandeur, to the splendour. I mean, you look at, entrances that are done by boxers, by wrestlers, by other sports teams. Like you look at the Super Bowl teams and things. They all have they all have pyrotechnics and light shows and music videos, and it adds to their presence. And I think anything that's going to lift not only the fans but then also the team, it's got to be helpful. I miss when we used to have local hero, but under Bobby Robson we had local hero, which was preceded by, and I can't for the life of me think of what the song's called, but if somebody puts in a chat I'll know what it is. But basically we had that like dramatic build up, and then it kicked into the local hero theme. I still get goosebumps just listening to that now, like watching those old entrances. So I think there's definitely nothing bad about adding this to the start of each game, in my opinion.
Do you know what?
Apparently,
in my opinion, this is nothing to do with football. You know, it's to do with next season. If we don't have Europe, they're going to be hiring our stadium out, and Hodgkinson will be brilliant at this. You know, our stadium's going to be not only a sports venue, it's going to be a place for gigs, it's going to be a place for events to happen in. You know, that's the reason that they're doing it. Let's not kid ourselves. Yes, they've done it because it'll help match days, but the big reason that they've done it is because rather than be a stadium, it's going to become an arena.
Which will generate revenue, which is what...
I'm not complaining about it whatsoever. You know, it's going to make Newcastle United a fortune. But you know that's the reason why they've done all this. That's why we've got a new sound system and light system, is because when you have a pop star coming on the stage, you have I don't know. I'm trying to think of a great pop star. Let us think of one. You've got Elton John coming on the stage, and you've got lights flashing up from it and everything. That's the reason why they've done all this. So it's a great idea from Hodgkinson, completely the right thing to do. But let's not kid ourselves. They've done it for match days. They've done this for to get commercial revenue in the ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Of all the pop stars in all the cities, in all the countries, on all the continents, you picked Elton John.
Hey, don't go breaking my heart. I love Elton John.
Oi! Thank you, was that? It's a football ground, not Billy Smart's circus. There you go. I mean,
that's exactly
the
what
thing,
it has
isn't
to be. It has to be a Billy Mart. Was that right there? It has to be a Billy Smart circus. In regards to, you need to. What's the point in having a 52,000 seater place that you use once a week? Next year we can't do that. So the reason that they're doing this is to get the money in, generated through the different things that can put on at St James's Park. You'll have Take That there. You'll have S Club 7 there. You'll have
love S Club 7.
all the great 90s bands, and it'll be great for the city and it'll be great for the area.
Don't stop.
Yeah, there's again lots of scandal apparently going on against the Bayern Munich PSG, where the player kicks the ball, clears the ball close to a teammate, and it goes directly onto his arm, and the referee says no penalty. Apparently, it's not gone down very well, according to a lot of the pundits. They reckon it's a bit of a scandal.
Champions League, as soon as it hits your arm, you're in big trouble, aren't you? Because
how many times have we had a problem with that?
Exactly. Yeah,
but if you look at I've just had a look at this. It's terrible. I mean, it literally. I mean, his player, it kicks it directly at him. I mean, he's 5 yards away, but it comes off his forearm. It doesn't even come off the elbow or the shoulder. It comes off his forearm, and like I say, the referee says no penalty. So
I mean, the referee's right, but the problem is, in Champions League football, it probably is a penalty.
Well, I mean, like I say, they were talking about it not being a penalty if it ricochets off a body part, right? And we've seen it. We've had it given against us. And this is IFAB, so it's across Europe, right? I know European referees see things a bit differently, but that to me is a clear and obvious penalty, mate. That is. Oh yeah. That's a penalty all day, every day. Because, like I say, even though he's close, it's not ricocheted off any body part. It's gone directly to his arm, and his arm's away from his body. So it's a penalty all day, every day.
Own player, though.
By his own player. Yeah, exactly.
Really,
yeah.
All
So
that he's blocking there, though, is a clearance. So it's not.
Yes, yeah, absolutely right. But you shouldn't have your arms away from your body in your own penalty area. That's the ruling. Because you've got a chance of controlling the ball.
Can I have a little bit of rant about this season so far, which really annoyed me?
Two big things in football.
One, this whole thing of your arms and players just having their arms behind the back the whole bloody game when they're trying to play balls into an area.
Botman loves
And you're
that.
thinking, how do you jump with your arms behind your back like that? Because
It's impossible, isn't it?
It's obviously been instructed that, you've got to have your arms deliberately away from the ball, otherwise we're going to give a penalty. And the second thing that really, really annoys us and mucks us off, ref cam. Who bloody needs to see what a ref's seeing on a pitch?
I think they're trying to show you how difficult it is. You know what I mean? For a referee to make decisions. That's what they're trying to.
It's not through his eyes. It's through a little camera on his shirt, so you're not seeing what he's seeing. And all this is going to do through time is it'll be a time where the ref cam sees something that the ref doesn't see, and all those fans will use, and I'll freedom it up, or I'll do it. You'll jump on the bandwagon. Well, how didn't the bloody referee see that? We could see it on his. He was even on his ref cam. If you're trying to split people up for a fall, then ref cam is a joke. So get rid of ref cam and get rid of this arms behind the back thing. It's getting on my nerves.
Yeah, Eddie Shearer's just made a comment regarding the Mafton Hall. He says he backs Eddie Howe decision after Newcastle Summit Insight. It went really well. Alan Shearer admits he's happy Eddie Howe will stay as the Newcastle manager after claiming previously he thought he would leave. There you go. So that's the new one. Let's talk about, you've seen the thumbnail. I'm only going to briefly go on to this. I'm sure the lads will go on a little bit longer. Dwight Gayle has been having a conversation, I suppose, to talk about Howe and Tindall, what is the hard man? Who's the one? Who's good cop, bad cop in this relationship? And according to Dwight Gayle, it's Howe who's the real hard man in and around the dressing room. And Tindall usually is the arm around the shoulder boy. Totally different on the sideline, on the touchline. It seems to be Jason Tindall who roils the opposition up, especially the opposition dugouts. And Howe is obviously the man who keeps himself very much at the focus of the camera. Does this, the way we see Eddie Howe in pressers and pre-match, post-match interviews, does this show a different personality? Does he get misunderstood with the way he comes across on camera? Or do you just think it's good PR?
I just want someone who can move the teeth when they speak. If you look when he does the press conferences now, he never actually moves his teeth. They sticks like that, and he speaks like this through his teeth. Learn to move your teeth, Eddie. That was a bit of a joke. I think at this point you've just got to accept Eddie Howe for what he is. He's not going to be a passionate guy. He's not going to come out and lose his rag. He's not going to come out and do anything that's wrong press wise. And that's who he's been taught, and that's where he'll be. And to be fair, no matter, I don't think unless you go with an older school manager, so unless you go with a Mourinho or I suppose a Pep a little bit now as a little bit of an older school, I think any new manager is going to come through like that. They're going to be very, very well press trained, and they'll be very clever to how they answer questions. And it's a sad way the game's going a little bit, really, because I think what you need is that little bit of passion sometimes. And hey, it maybe doesn't win you anything, but it builds you up for games, and it gives you so much heart when you've got a manager who's coming out saying exactly what they think rather than just repeating what should be said. That's the sad thing where football's going.
Yeah, it's true. Again, this is just coming from the Chronicle, so I'm going to read it out because it says the thing I read was about Newcastle down to bare bones after double injury blow, and I thought, oh my God, we've got somebody else ruled out. But it's both Fabian, Schar and Tino Livramento are running out of time to prove their fitness behind the scenes at Benton. Apparently, both of them had undergone fresh assessments today at the Magpies training ground. And Livramento is still nursing a thigh injury, sweating on being involved again this season in the Premier League, while Schar is being ruled out for the trip to Nottingham Forest this weekend, but still may be available for the next game.
I know this is a little bit naughty, but do you race Tino back? Do you race... do you do that and give him the World Cup where he could get injured again, or he has a blinder and people want to buy him? Or do you just say, oh, you know what, you're still a little bit injured, we're not going to take a chance on you, he doesn't make the World Cup and nobody actually comes in for him because he's been injured again.
Yeah, I mean, Schar was the one that I thought would be back, but it was that infection that he had that's cost him dear.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think regarding Tino, I think, like I say, with hamstrings, mate, that is just one of them where you've just got to let it heal, And like I say, if that takes him out of the World Cup, then it's just a shame, if I'm honest with you. And again, it's also a shame for Newcastle because if he has had this mentality where he wants out of Newcastle, he's not going to have a chance of going because at this present moment in time, he is that Rolls Royce, isn't he? That's the biggest problem.
But did we not see this Botman as well before his injury? He there was talk about him wanting out. Then he got the injury and then he signed a new contract because he thought to himself, shit, I didn't want to sort of be without a club in the summer. So, do you get the same sort of response from Tino as well, potentially? So, is this maybe a good thing for Newcastle? We'll keep him out of the World Cup. He doesn't get shown off on a world stage, and then, he has to, well, he doesn't have to, but he signs a new contract with Newcastle because, well, literally, there's nobody else really wanting him because he's injury prone. As you say, he's a Rolls Royce in the garage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I say, I think the unfortunate thing about it, I mean, whoever comes in, if Tino is adamant that he's not going to stay with Newcastle and he has spoken to his father who's represented him to obviously get an option to move elsewhere, I think, you've got to, I think with Newcastle, maybe they do have to cut the losses a little bit. And maybe, just move him on at maybe a cut in price. I mean, who knows? And like I said, it depends on how the lad reacts now. I mean, if he comes back and wants still to wear the Newcastle strip, there's going back onto what we were talking about earlier. This is coming from BBC. It's just dropped. This is why that wasn't a penalty, according to it. The laws of the football says it's not a handball if hit on the hand, arm by the ball, which has been played by a teammate, unless the ball goes directly into the opponent's goal or the player scores immediately afterwards, in which case a direct free kick is awarded to the other team. There you go. So apparently,
you potentially you could.
All you've got to say to all your mates, all your teammates, get your arms out.
Yeah,
we'll clear it.
Waters and I'll punch it away and we'll get away
with
it.
Exactly. Yeah, get away. Honestly. I mean, that's crap.
The rules
if I'm honest with you.
No,
that's what I said. It's so misleading. Yeah, there you go. Was that? I think Glasner would have gave us a Moyes stability. Well, it's really interesting because let me see if I hope I haven't cleared it because I did speak before about the ones that it brought up. It was just made me laugh when I saw the first two. Ruben Amorim was the best fit rebuilding youth development long-term structure. He fits NUFC's situation. And then the other one was Gary O'Neill. And I'm like, what? Gary O'Neill, where's he at the minute? And then there was Mitchell from Girona. Again, world-class coaching improvements, not spending money, can adapt to squad limitation, plays modern positional football. Farioli, which was on a lot of people's lips when the word come that Eddie Howe could be losing his job. He's at Nice previously. I don't know where he is at the minute. But again, he's got some good experience. And the other one was obviously Nagelsmann, which is the one that everybody's talking about because he thrives actually on that long-term project multi-window situation. Elite tactically, that's why he's Germany's coach now, proven at developing young players doesn't require massive spending and can coach and repurpose players. So again, Nagelsmann seems to have come on that top five, if you like, but the top two just made me giggle. And again, I think AI can go and swivel, if I'm honest, because I'm taking no notice of what they say. Gary O'Neill was the old Wolves manager. He did okay with them, actually, on a bit of a shoestring budget, but like I said. What's that?
Was he Northern Ireland's manager? Was that?
I mean, I don't know where he is now. He seems to have gone all over the place. How does Miley get injured in non-contact training? Well, it's like I said, that the biggest problem with these young guns is it's all about twisting injuries, because it's like obviously the fib and everything else close to the ankle joint, which is probably where he's got the injury. I know it's lower third, that's what they're suggesting, and it's a non-contact injury. So it's from a twisting movement. Now, like I say, this kid's already had an airline fracture of his foot, a metatarsal, from running, trying to speed up. So, like I say, it's all to do with his growth plates, I think. That's where he's got problems because of the size of him. Alonso doesn't need money. Look at what he did at Leverkusen, says Niall. I agree with you, but
he just needs to bulk out a little bit, Miley, doesn't he? That's what he needs to stop these little niggly injuries. Not niggly, but the injuries that he's getting.
Gary O'Neill is a Strasbourg manager there now. Ex-Wolves and Bournemouth. There you go.
I think
Thanks, Foxy.
With Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I think
I don't know that. It is Martin O'Neill, that is. Martin O'Neill.
No. This wasn't that long ago. This wasn't. Or it'll come to us.
Michael O'Neill.
Michael O'Neill, that's the one. Yeah,
he's the one that was Northern Ireland. Foxy's got it. I mean, like I say, what you've got there, like I say, Glasner was because I've used several different AI models to try and work out who they suggest, and they all brought it up. And Wynne asked me to do it under Chelsea to see if Chelsea would be of a similar ilk. And believe it or not, Alonso, Fabregas, all of these managers that I would love to see at Newcastle. And like I say, what he's done at Como on no budget at all. I mean, just think. I think they were in the second tier, and a lot of the players are still at the club. And Fabregas is doing a wonderful job in Serie A with them. I mean, absolutely outstanding job. And that's what I said. If you've got somebody like him who can come and do a job with no real big names, and like I say, past now, I really think he's becoming a very, very good, talented player. He's certainly going to be on the radar for a few European clubs. I suppose we can go into the Bruno and Miley moment. Then now we're talking about Miley because obviously it's public support. Miley's injury obviously came out yesterday from being injured in training in the morning. He's got to see a specialist. I've heard nothing regarding that. But obviously that comes out now as Bruno has shown public support to him, sending him all his love. And again, I suppose it does show a bit of leadership within the squad and dressing room unity, despite all of the struggles for me. When your captain sends you a get well soon type of message, I mean, like I say, it's easy to do these days. There ain't no real work in it. It's not as if he's having to travel miles to go and see him in a hospital or anything like that. Everything's on X these days and social media. But it's nice to see that, he's thinking of the lad and his thoughts are with him for, an early return, if you like. Is there anything from that you guys think is worthy of a pat on the back, or do you think it's what the club should be doing?
No, it's a captain's response, isn't it? If you work with somebody or you're with somebody and they're not well, you automatically wish them well and you want them to get better. We do it on this channel. We've all been off at times when we've had, little bits of illnesses or when we've wanted to walk a hill. And we've let each other down and you want to apologise.
Oh, goodness me. We've let each other down. This is escalated, Pokey.
No, that was kidding on, but no, it's the right thing for Bruno to do. As I say, whenever anybody's poorly who you work with or you spend a lot of time with, which the likes of us do and the likes of they do, you wish everybody well, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You do. Brian saying, seeing a specialist for a fibular fracture is concerning, but maybe it's an awkward place. I mean, listen, I think because, again, I don't think it's displaced. These guys now, because with it being the lower sector, the lower third.
Sorry for interrupting, but is that the real win in the chat? And is that a true thing? It can't be.
Just heard in the pub, but...
Yeah.
Oh, do you mean it's a tab break a real thing? No, yeah, people go for tab breaks.
Have you discussed the alleged Eddie Howe resignation letter, which was refused? Literally just heard it in the Vic. Firstly, is that the real win, or is it somebody else? But That's a hell of a thing.
Well,
That is the
it
real
certainly
win.
looks. Yeah, it certainly looks like the real win for me. Again, anybody else seen anything? I've seen nothing in front of me, if I'm honest with you. But like I say, that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. Again, we know there's a mole at the club, and like I say, there's lots of information coming out. And like I said, there's always going to be, things like this. There was something that I saw and read, but I thought it was waffle. To be fair, which was that he had employed his resignation, but again, it wasn't somebody that you can count on as a reputable source. Put it that way.
Was it win after 3 pints popping out? For a
Yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah. It was actually Mighty win after 4 points of Foster's. There you go.
Oh, there we go then. I mean,
Wynn drinks cocktails as well, is what you've got to remember. He drinks lager and lime, doesn't he? He doesn't just drink.
that's not a cocktail. That's a mixed drink.
Anything with fruit in it's a cocktail, Tina.
I mean, there are nicer cocktails, so that's all I'm saying. Just bringing up Captain, I'll tell you what I miss about. I've just remembered now how much I miss Kieran Trippier, which was when Isak was going to take a penalty. I can't remember if it was last season or the season before, and he was absolutely getting hounded by the fans, by the goalkeeper, by the defenders, and Trippier took the ball off him and stood there as if he was going to take the penalty. Took all the abuse off everybody, waited until it all calmed down, and passed the ball back to Alexander Isak. And I thought that was the most prime example of what Kieran Trippier brought to this team as a captain. It must have been 2 years ago, but I've just remembered that now, and it was an absolute fantastic moment. And we've got another super chat from
It's summer. What's your favourite ice cream, peeps? Well, it's still spring, and mine's all of them. Yeah, you too can have a body like mine if you abused it. That's what I always say.
A news
That's my motto.
update, winners on 6 pints. It's 6 pints, people.
I don't know if he's ever went, but it used to be mint choc chip from me, and it used to be the entrance to Eldon Square from the Gray's Monument.
Gray's Spot, you're going to say, yeah.
Shop. Yep, and in there, and they did the best mint choc chip ice cream ever.
Do you remember the milkshake shop that used to be there? Shakeaholics.
What? Don't know about that one. Is that not a chain?
I was on beer by then.
I mean,
what?
Okay. Proper little girl there, didn't he?
He did indeed.
One thing I can say is Tina's milkshake brought all the boys to the yard.
Oh, yes. Somebody in the chat. I think it was one.
There was more singers than just Elton John.
Exactly. There you go. I mean, like I say, the lads are on the verge of coming on, and like I say, it's been a really slow day when it comes to Newcastle news. And it's not, I suppose, it's not bad time because usually we've got Newcastle. If you think about the big question, on Newcastle building something sustainable or slowly drifting backwards, and I think that's going to be a question on everybody's lips. It's stability versus ambition. Lots of fans want the ambition. Some fans want the stability. They just want to see us, getting stable before they move forward. Because as we've seen in the past, you look at where Leicester are now with that lovely training ground, not great news. And that's something that Newcastle just don't need behind them. We need financial control versus competitive edge. I suppose you're always going to be on which one is more productive. Do you need the financial control? We know we're going to get by this UEFA fine. That could obviously increase. And again, is sacking Howe going to be more financial disruption beyond the scenes? Who knows? But we need that competitive edge back. And one way or the other, they need to work it out. Trust in Howe versus need for evolution. And I think that is the other one, two sides of the fence. Some will trust it, that Howe is the right man. Even Howe believes he is. He's still got that wood to burn. But there's a lot of us need for an evolution. So for me, like I say, I'm going to say a final good night. So that's your lot. Newcastle United, not in crisis, not flying, just existing in that uncomfortable mid-ground where nobody agrees on anything. Manager's safe, squad uncertain, fans are divided. Basically, it's business as usual. Same time tomorrow, unless another emergency meeting breaks to confirm that nothing's changed. There you go. The lads are literally on the verge. What do you disagree with?
That was just being funny because you said the fans disagreeing, so I was like, I disagree.
Oh, I was going to say, was there something that I've just mentioned that you actually disagree with?
I'll occasionally make a joke. That's all I come here for, to bring me milkshake and make jokes.
All I can say is I wish I had his soundboard. Anyway, they're here. Michael is at the helm tonight with Ian Super Mac Mackay. So I'm going to hand you very kindly over to the man, the myth, the legend, Michael, and have a lovely late night show, sir.
Thank you very much, Gary, mate, and thanks to everyone joining us for the show so far. It's been absolutely fantastic. How are we all doing? All good?
Well, you know, up and down with a chance of roses.
As always, mate, as always.
I'll keep it at that.
What about you, Tina? How you doing?
Yeah, really good.
I'm only picking on you because I saw you weren't looking.
I wasn't, no, because I had something stuck to my fingernail. I was listening this time. He's still in a mood with us because somebody said something in chat, which just became a total meme at work now, by the way. And I got distracted blocking this person in chat, and then Michael had asked me a question at the same time, and I was like, sorry, can you repeat the question? He was instantly like, I knew you were going to say that. I was like, oh, I've been found out.
Try watching the snooker at the same time when you're on with Michael. You just get death stares all the time.
Try being professional and not watching the snooker.
Yeah. Always watching.
I was watching Michael the other day, and my missus was sat by the side of me. She was on her phone, and she looked up and she went, is he watching tennis? And I went, what you on about? And she says, because he's going left to right. It's like as if he's following the ball over the net. And I says, no, he's got multi-screen situation. And like I say, the camera's in front of him, so he's looking at both screens. And she swore blind you was watching tennis. She's so rude.
Oh, it's my excuse to having the multi-screen.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I'm going to bid you a good night. And like I say, thank you to one and all, Wazza and obviously Prosaic for the memberships. And I'm going to say, if you could, smash that like button for the team in the late show. And I will see you same time tomorrow. With the lads, lassies and bands.
Good pick, Gary.
Set up for maximum confrontation and super opinionated debates. The NUFC Late Night Show with Chris the American Man, Derek the Mighty Wind, and the rest of the panel Monday through Thursday from 9:30 p.m. UK and UFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army.
Raid! It is time for your late night news show with myself, Michael Grameslow. Bogey staying on for a double shift, and we're joined by Ian Mackay as well, mate. Ian, didn't get a chance to ask you just before, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, but look, can you see, I've developed at a very late time in life. Bloody hay fever. Look at my eyes. They're closed up, and I think it's pollen. I've never had it before. So if I'm sniffling all the way through, and I can't read any of the comments, it's because, bloody summer. My God. Rum and raisin, by the way, that is the ice cream of choice.
Ooh.
In the old days. I'm probably on to salted caramel now, to be fair. That's also very good. Really nice place just in Seaton Delaval, isn't there, for ice cream?
There is. I was trying to think of the name of it, and I can't, but at the top of the avenue at Seaton Delaval is absolutely gorgeous.
It's not Mark Tony's, something like that.
Is that the ones in South Shields? That's the one I was thinking of, but is that the ones that run along the coast?
Minchella.
Yeah, so maybe Mark Tony's, yeah.
I'm an ex-Minchella employee, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah?
I did a summer when I was 16 as the relief ice cream man. So I spent an hour in each of the ice cream kiosks up the coast. Had somebody come and pick me up at the car and take me to the next one and drop me off.
So did
everybody else that was working there got an hour off. Sorry?
Did they start during the war?
Sorry? I think it started before that, but I wasn't working before the war, you cheeky bugger. I think we established last night when I was born in 63, and so I'm age 63, which has got to be something nice for all the maths nerds out there. Anyway.
Do you know it's a weird thing when people say
that summer bought me my first drum kit.
Bloody hell. 63. Where was I in 63? I don't even think my mum was born in 63, to be honest. So,
same with my dad. Not to
That's
make
probably
you feel that way,
1979 I was working
mate.
there when I was 16. I used to love it. I used to love it. You used to be able to. I'll tell you what, they paid you really badly, but that's because what you could do was there was just like a great big tub of frozen ice cream, like one of the olden ones, not an electric, just a cold churn. And there was so much extra ice cream in that they expected you to dole them out. And every fifth or sixth one that you sold, you kept that for yourself. That's how you made your money. Bonkers, really. As long as they had enough for the churn, they were happy, and you keep the rest. But I
Because
used
you
to swap it for cigarettes, and
I don't know if it was the same, Ian, but you used to have them right away along. So you used to have them. There was one obviously where the fountain was in, like at the start of South Shields Way Promenade, and then there was one along near Marsden Rock, and there was one a little bit further back the
yeah,
other way. There used to be loads,
right
like loads
down,
of little kiosks.
right down at Whitburn and Seaburn, I think they had them.
Mm-hmm.
The best one was the one in Marine Park, though, because you got to make tea and hand sausage rolls out and everything in Marine Park.
Was there in there with
Mr. Whippy, yeah, well,
Ian
that's
is Mr. Whippy.
that came much later. You've seen my videos, then, was there? Excellent.
Let's not get started on the videos again. But to be fair, if Mr. Whippy walked round at work and I saw Ian in the van, I'd get a much better reception than what I normally do, to be honest. Maybe I've took him out of ice cream and that explains the old chubby cheeks, but you'd think he'd like me for that, to be honest. Also joined today by Peter. How's it going, mate?
All right, lads. Doing well. I'm
Hey,
doing
Peter.
well.
All right,
Talking ice cream hour.
We are. What's your favourite flavour?
Normally mint, I would say, but I was just thinking,
copying me.
oh, is that what? Yeah,
Two
it's
mints.
a good one. It's a yeah. I'd go with that. Do you think they should introduce in the ground? They should have like I don't know what you call them, but remember in the pictures or at certain events, you'd have people coming around back in the day with like ice cream, wouldn't you? At certain events. Can you imagine if they'd done that? It's in Germany.
You know what they should introduce. Do you remember the square ice cream that used to go into a square cone? That you used to get. Was it Walls? Somebody that used to do
Yeah,
it.
like
used to,
a chalk ice without the chalk.
yeah, exactly. Oh yes,
Very good
yes. I
idea.
should definitely bring them in.
The idea. I used to work at theatre where we used to sell ice creams, and I've got no idea about any of this stuff. All before my time, but well, I'll finish off. Cherry Garcia for me, by the way. Probably a bit rogue.
Cherry
but-
Garcia. Cherry
Yeah.
Garcia was my co-star in the second Mr. Whippy video.
He'll probably be playing up front for the Toon next season as well. Right.
You've got
so
to
there's
share
your-
these videos with Ian.
We'll have him come along, you know.
Maybe for members only. Right. So we've had a lovely little sweet introduction with the talk of the ice cream. Tonight's going to look to start off by talking a bit more of the bigger picture. Obviously, we've got some topics to talk about, as you can see by the thumbnail and the title of the video. But before judging opinions, I want to get expectations from the lads that are here. Not just for the next game, not for the next player to be injured, although odds for all of them would be quite low, and not just the next transfer rumour, because there's going to be loads. I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to start off, and I might start with you, Bogey, because you're a bit more warmed up than the other two. What are your genuine expectations for Newcastle United for the next 3 years? Not talking Eddie Howe squad or anything like that. Just flat level, what would you expect Newcastle to have done by, let's say, May 2029?
Progress, so move forward and entertain us. You know, I want to go to games and be entertained. I know this is a strange. This is the strange parallel between different types of fans. But for me, I just want to go and be entertained. If we win something, it's great. If we don't, fair enough. But if I'm going to games and I'm not coming out like I was the other night when we'd won, and I was thinking, yeah, we won, but that was it. That was all we did do. We weren't entertaining. I wasn't enamored with the game. I wasn't feeling up for it. You know, I want to go to games and just be completely entertained by the team. So for me, in 3 years' time, if you guys are entertained, if you guys are entertaining us on the pitch, if we're moving forward, if we look like we can do things, we can look like we can win trophies, then great. If I know other fans will say, go in at every game, win 1-0. That's not me. I think it's because I was spoiled in the 90s, basically. I think I was spoiled under the Keegan football, but I just want to see entertaining football, basically. I just want to see we're going to games and me think we can win these games. But if we don't, I come away from the game still thinking, hey, we're putting a bloody good performance there, and we're a good team. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, so it's more about the football that's being played rather than the actual results. Obviously, the results matter, but
Well,
you want to get
results
them in the
matter,
right
but
way.
yeah, but you want to get, you want to be entertaining. Basically, you want to be an entertaining team.
No, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Peter, what about you, mate?
That's what you've said there, Borky. That's what Keegan said in his press conference on his return for his second stint. He was talking to the press and he was saying, these fans want to be entertained. And he says, going to the football, going to the match on the weekend for these fans is like the same as it is for you lot when you go to the theatre down south. And he had a bit of a dig, I suppose, at the press for not understanding Newcastle. He was saying you just don't get it. This is what it means to these people. They want to be entertained and they want to see a good show and they want to see 100%. And if it doesn't come off, then they can go home thinking, well, at least they gave it a go and at least they were entertained. So that's his ethos. That's it, in line with what you're saying there, Borky, and it's hard to disagree with because, I think it is ultimately an entertainment sport. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, in terms of progress, in terms of what I'd expect, you're saying by 2029, yeah? So like
Yeah,
3 years
next
time.
3 seasons, let's say.
Yeah. You see, I'm always kind of tempering expectations just with the pure fact that I know that football, progress in football is just very rarely a straight line. I've seen enough football to know that. And so I'm not going to say by 29 I'm expecting, on the verge of Premier League glory, but I think by then it would just be nice to have been regulars in Europe. I'll say that. Now that could be Europa League, hopefully Champions League, but I think even Europa League just keeps you on the map, and I think just helps to grow the club. So yeah, hopefully I would say regulars in Europe in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And to be honest, I've wrote down 4 and you've both basically named one of them right there. Ian, let's see if we go 3 out of 4. What would your realistic expectations be for Newcastle by May 2029?
Well, I think whatever next year we bounce back from wherever we finish this year. I watched the Geordie Journos tonight, by the way, and for the first time ever in history, with 3 games to go, Newcastle are in a position where it's still mathematically possible for them to qualify for the Champions League and to be relegated. So, but that's a bit mental, isn't it? But I think we'll bounce back next year, one game a week, even if Eddie's there. Strengthen the squad with a batch of even more athletic and younger players and play the way that we've played. I disagree with Bulky. I know we didn't score highly for technical merit or artistic impression, but I was entertained during that Brighton game. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We scored a couple of good goals. We had the usual stress level through the second half, but then scored at the end. I liked
I
it.
enjoyed the first
I
half.
think
I hated
I
the second.
think Howe's way of playing football can be very entertaining. Um, but yeah, I would hope that we would have some the progression line would pick back up again. In 3 years, you'd hope that we'd get some good cup runs. Maybe we pick up another cup. Be fabulous to get one in Europe. That could be next year when we're in the Conference League. Who knows? But yeah, I'm still positive with Piff's backing that even if Howe stays in charge, we'll have a much better season next year with 1 game a week, and then hopefully with a much stronger squad. And how learning
But
from
can
his
I just pick
mistakes.
you up on that? Can I just pick you up on that, Ian? Basically,
Yeah.
what we're saying is we're because next year we won't have the European football. We're keeping Howe because of his failure. Basically, we're saying that people are saying that he's better to 1 week a bit manager than a 2 week a game manager. But basically, what we're saying as a football club is you can stay next season, but the reason is that you failed this season because you haven't got European football.
Well,
That's a bad
Bokey,
position to be in.
no, Bokey, but first and foremost, I would like to replace Eddie Howe with a bigger name manager who can attract the players. They can put together a technical team in one pre-season, and we can control some games, and dominate the teams that we should dominate without there being much of a question of it. Not quite at Manchester City's level after one season, but that's what we've got to be aiming at. A team that can put a run of 12, 14 wins together consistently. I'm a realist, however. PIF, for the reasons I think, have already decided Howe's there for next year because they've got all of this work that they've done to bring players in for another Howe team. So I'm trying to put a positive spin on it. I think next year it will be a good year with only 1 game a week. And then hopefully we'll see how grow and evolve. He's still relatively, I know he's had 15, 17 years? But you'd think that he's still young enough to be able to learn some new tricks. And having lived through the second half of this season, he must realise he's got to learn some new tricks, otherwise he's going to end up with that.
But what tricks have
So
you seen him learn? What tricks have you seen him learn this season? What have been the
seen him
differences that you've
learn
seen?
many. I haven't
I've
seen him
not
learn many,
seen him.
but
I've not
this
seen him
last
learn anything. He's went into
he-
every game picking the same sort of team, and having the same issues with in-game management. If you're losing
thing is,
against your local rivals, chuck as many bloody strikers on as you can.
I mean, it looked like 4-3-3 on Saturday, but he lined up and played more like 4-4-2, didn't we? With Murphy dropping back and Willock coming more central. So
Yeah.
maybe that's an experimentation to see whether that could work. And actually, beating
But then if
Brighton
you're going to,
shows that it did work, because I think we overachieved what we expected to get from that game. No one would deny that
but if you're
Brighton
going
was
to
the
if you're
toughest
going
of
to
the
do
4
that
games we had left.
formation, why not do it with the right players? Why not play Voltamada as your number 9 and Asula up front? So I agree. He changed. It looked a different formation, but he didn't have the right players on the pitch to play it.
I think it was
Bokey, for
at the
me,
weekend. I thought it was more pace up front, and I was screaming, thinking Gordon would come on for that exact reason. So I think that's more the reason for Voltamada. I don't like it. Let's be completely honest. I don't like the fact Voltamada's not playing, but I think it was probably more pace in the break. Sorry,
you know that you're preaching to the choir in relation to Voltamada.
Oh, I know.
From my point of view. That said, you've got to try and accommodate Asula because I think he's come on leaps and bounds, and I'm excited when he gets the ball. Some of those turns, 2 or 3 times in the first half when he did the dummy and ran round, fantastic watching that. But I think it was all down the right. He's a perfect right winger with Voltamada playing number 9. And shove Gordon on the left as well. We've still got a hell of a lot of pace up front.
I think
I'm hoping
Asula could be the breakout player of this season. I think I agree with you 100%, Ian. He's probably the best player I've seen this season in regards to progression.
Well, I really enjoyed his performance. I know he faded a little bit, didn't he? But I really enjoyed his first half performance. So I was astounded when I got back and started listening to what everybody else was saying that he actually got man of the match, because I think he's carrying a lot of baggage about being raw. He's been raw for 3 years. There must be some development, otherwise what the hell are the coaching staff doing with him? I think he's still got some rough edges to knock off him, but I think that's part of his charm. That's part of his.
I don't think you're ever going to see a perfect player there. I don't think you're ever going to see that player that you think is a normal striker. But I think he's got so much about him that's different. What he's gifted at makes up a lot for what he loses you in sort of the normal sort of sense. So you don't expect him to hold a ball up if a ball's pinged to him on the head or something like that. But you ping it down the wing, He might look like Bambi on ice running through, but there's a good chance he could get you a chance somewhere.
Yeah, he feels like the perfect striker to come off the bench, in my opinion. If you're in the lead, someone who can hit you on the counter attack. The only thing he needs to be is a little bit more clinical, in my opinion. If he can get that sort of clinical edge to his game, I mean, he'll be worth the 35, 40
You
minutes.
say
Michael,
that,
you're saying
Michael, look at his goals per minute.
Oh, yeah.
He's second.
It's good.
He's
It's
second
very
behind
good.
Haaland on goals per minute.
However, when
he has missed
players
a few
do play
sitters.
500 odd minutes, they do
Yeah.
tend to have a little bit better. I do get yous, but Palace missed the sitter. He has missed 3 or 4 chances where you look at and go, you should have scored that. I'm fully aware Erling Haaland's the exact same. But if he can turn those missed chances into goals, he'll be an absolute superstar. But I do get what you're saying. He has got a great goal per minute.
Peter will come back on this with me. You look at Bellamy. I think Bellamy would have been around your age, sort of frame when you were there, Peter. You look at Bellamy. Bellamy missed a hell of a lot of chances.
Yeah.
He scored a hell of a lot of goals. That's what you've got to accept with strikers. They'll miss.
Yeah.
But if they're missing, that's a good thing because they're getting into position to have the chance.
Mm-hmm. Andy Cole was a bit like that for Man United as well, wasn't he? Yeah, he would score maybe 1 and 3. But like you say, ultimately he's getting in the right positions and he will score goals given enough chances. So I think Asula, yeah, he's like a jack in the box, isn't he? Like, you don't know what you're going to get. He's very unpredictable, very lively. I love how enthusiastic he comes across when he's on the pitch. It's like he wants to be there. He wants the ball. He wants to make an impact. So he's not passive in any way, shape or form. So like, yeah, I think fair play to Asula. I think he's been good since he's came in the team, and it was a bit of a bold move, I think, to put him in when he did at Palace away, when we're all scratching our heads at the time. Yeah. But I think he done what he could in that formation with the 4-3-3 or 4-5-1. It's one up front really when you play that, like he did at Palace. But I think he really benefited from the change in formation on Saturday. I was loving the fact that Eddie finally went with basically 2 forwards. It was basically 4-4-2. And I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, that he had changed to that formation, and we saw, how it worked. It worked a treat. So that was brilliant. I was loving that, and I didn't expect that, and it was just so nice to see 2 strikers, that double pronged attack, going forwards, where you just look like much more of a threat. So yeah, and I think Asula having a strike partner definitely benefited from that. So fair play to him.
Yeah, to be honest, you kind of saw earlier in the season, the Leeds game stands out to me quite a bit. You look at Asula play then and you think, this guy needs someone closer to him. And Ramsey did that a little bit in that Leeds game at the start of the season I'm talking about, but he went off injured, and after that there was nobody. And you saw just how good he can be. Sorry, go on.
What happened in that match where he led the line against Carabao? He was absolutely dreadful in that.
He was, wasn't he?
He touched it twice in the first half.
I think he's came good.
But hang on, you're going to have strikers like that. Look at Isaac. You look back to last season and the amount of times that we came on. Well, people came on this channel, and you guys would have went on your channels and things and said how bad Isaac was. You're going to have games where strikers have bad games, but it's what they actually do in the good games that's important. And to me, this season, he's been the one little ray of sunshine up front that you can think, hey, look at Eddie Howe hasn't played his team. Gordon's been up there, and Eddie Howe's played the team around him. Isaac, bloody hell, that's wrong. Asula's went up there and had to play his own game, but he's done a really bloody good job at it. And
yes,
as I say, he's not natural, but he's a good player.
Yeah, he scored a few really good goals. I mean, and the difference is that he'll actually take a man on and beat him, and then have a shot at the end of it, a good shot at the end of it. I haven't seen that very much at all. A lot of the goals where Isaac was banging them in were all from 6-yard box, weren't they? They were all crosses and little tap-ins because we'd work the ball through to him.
Yeah.
I do like one like the goal against Bournemouth where it's played through to him by Evan Nilsson. But he controls that really well. He beats the defender and he fools the keeper before he puts it in. It's instinct.
I
Yeah.
think
He's
his
got
last
too much
three
time to
goals
think.
you've got to look at. You've got to look at his last three goals and how they've been, and none of them were the same. One was a cross into the box and a header. We've had a cross across the box, and somehow he's managed to get his foot on something that I don't think there's many other players in the world would do that, to be
Oh.
perfectly honest. He managed
Did
to
his
flip his
did
leg.
a step
And the other,
did a step
yeah,
over sitting down.
sitting down, and the other one was a spin off a player and back in behind. And yes, he could have been offside for that one, but let's be honest, who else in our squad could do those three different types of goals?
Yeah, 100%. We've said it on the live comms when we've been doing them. Only Asula could do that. And if you go back to the Man United one where he scores that screamer, well, me and Gary are literally laughing at him as he's doing his step overs on the byline, nearly slipping over, and then you just hear him scream and erupt. And I'm sitting there going, "There's no one else that can do that." Like that's
Do you know what?
incredible.
I sat and watched that. That I was with you on that com. I hate doing match day comms because I like to just watch a match by myself so I can be how I want to be. But I did that match with you, and you were all laughing at him as he was running down the wing and he's nearly falling over. Then I think it was me that clicked him first. I thought he could actually do something here. This isn't as bad as it looks. And he cut inside, and you think to yourself, bloody hell! And you think, it was just a goal that nobody else in our squad could have scored. He was that maverick in that game. And that's maybe what he is. Maybe he's our maverick.
Well, he's came good just at the right time for him because before that Palace match, I think most fans would have probably agreed that his time was coming to an end at Newcastle. Certainly like this summer, I think most people would have thought he'll be off. But you fast forward to now, and he's maybe given Eddie a bit of a headache in terms of for next season, is he now in Eddie's plans for at least a squad player?
Yeah.
It's only the last couple of weeks that he's not been. He's not been.
No.
Yeah, it's only the last couple of weeks that he's not been everybody's first choice for bringing the first 30 million in, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't
100%.
want to hang on to him. I want to see what he does with another summer on his back.
I've not want to put this
he's
pressure on.
He's a bloody huge. He's bloody fast, bloody strong, and he scores as regularly as Haaland does. Why is he not? Why is he not Haaland?
I've never want to put this pressure on him on the channel, but do you know who he reminds me a little bit of? Tino Asprilla. Nobody else on the pitch understands what's going on there. There's a footballing brain there, and he knows what he's doing. But nobody else is ever going to understand what he's thinking when he's actually got the ball. He just reminds me of that sort of player.
He's got that flighty sort of movement about him when he's trying to when he's carrying the ball, when he's charging down. It's and Tino was like that. When you think about his goals, like the Mets goal, if you remember that one, Mets at St James's Park, the way Tino was just galloping.
You remember the goals against Barcelona? Look at that one at the weekend when the cross came in and how he leapt. It's
true.
Massive. Just before we get into the next topic, we got some super chats just to go through. Was I early asking Peter to smile? He's compromised and found a way.
As Steven Seagal once said, you see this face? This is a happy face. So and you'll all be as lucky to be as happy as I am. So there you go.
Wasn't that Tim?
And ads in there saying Bogey and ambition go together, unlike Eddie. You've got your little Robin to your Batman there, haven't you? To be fair, big fans of the channel. I wish I had someone who was a bigger fan of me, but maybe in a few years. Probably not.
I am, Michael.
Thank you, Ian. Was there in there cherry ice cream for Bexy Freckles four? Not wrong with cherry ice cream. I'm just gonna say that.
And Peter, I was just trying to get Wazza to put the Guinness down there. I know you're Peter down below us.
I don't worry.
Right. Just to well, actually, it's just gone full time in the Champions League. Paris Saint-Germain 1, Bayern Munich 1. So that means PSG will go on to play Arsenal in the Champions League final. Never thought I'd be rooting for PSG, but there we go. So I'll just finish off. Obviously, I said I had my expectations for Newcastle May 2029. I'll be honest, it's none of this best club in the world. Naga nonsense by 2030. Yeah, because quotes like that kind of tell me that the people saying them don't really have a clue on the beast they're taking on in this Premier League. But for me, and it was very similar to what you guys were saying, Newcastle should qualify for Europe in all 3 seasons. Acceptable if we qualify for 2 out of 3 and then, 1 we're close. We should reach a Champions League at least once during that, and the UEFA Conference League no more than once. Aim to win a trophy or at least have a final against top quality opposition. If you lose to like Shakhtar Donetsk in the Conference League, it's not really good enough, but you lose to Man City in the FA Cup final, it's kind of forgivable. And then most importantly, Newcastle should develop a playing style, squad and mentality that is capable of handling 3 games a week. Ian, Peter, is any of that unreasonable?
That's what we'd all wish for, isn't it? I mean, and they're realistic goals that should be inked in on whoever's manager, I would say.
So, yeah, it doesn't matter who the manager is, but get them
I
going.
don't think it puts any. I don't think it puts any unfair or unreal expectations on the manager or the squad. If the fans are happy with that, and I would be, then that should be something that we can all rally around and work on.
You just need to draft that up now, Michael, and send that to Hopkinson.
Yeah, draft it.
Already done it, man. He responded with, "Not a chance. Get gone."
Like, can not be as nice?
Yeah.
I think that's settling. I think that's just settling for being, an average team. What we should be aiming for is to be, if Hopkinson's right and we want to push up, we should be pushing to be a lot further up Premier League. We should be pushing to be top 5 every season, top 4 every season. We should be pushing to win competitions every season. We shouldn't be sitting there thinking, let's try to do this, let's try to do that. We're just little old Newcastle United. Stop thinking in that little team formality that we've had for so long.
Just said we're going to finish top 6 the next 3 seasons
Michael's
in a row.
Saying we're going to finish in the top 6 for the next 3 seasons.
But I'm saying don't accept that. Don't just say, we're going to finish top 6. I want to finish top 1. I want to be Premier League champions. I want to push on, and I want to be the best team we can be. So let's not sit here and say, we're little old. I think the problem we've got is a little bit that we think to ourselves, we're little old Newcastle United. We've lived through the Ashley years. Now we're a big team. We're a big club. We've got money to spend. Let's not aim for the, at the minute it feels like we're aiming for the sky and hitting, a cloud. Let's aim for the moon and hitting the sun.
Yeah. I'd be hoping for all that, but I'd hope to.
No, but that wasn't what the question was.
To win the Champions League, to win the Premier League. But in terms of expectation, I just can't sit here and say I expect that. If that's the question, what we expect.
What was the expectation? Was the question? Of course, even with the squad that we've got, I thought we'd be in the top 3. I thought City and Arsenal had a better squad than we did. But
set your expectations higher. Go for it. Let's absolutely
when I asked you said you talked about playing style and that was it. There was
I'm not having to go at you, Michael. I'm just saying. Well, you can at me. If we want to, let's absolutely go for this. We've got these years to come. Let's not just sit back and think, we're little old Newcastle. Let's think, we're Newcastle United. We can do this.
It's not a bad mentality to have whatsoever. We're joined at the minute as well by D-Man from the 90s Mags. How is it going, buddy? You all right?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. How you guys doing?
Hi, D-Man.
All good, bang.
Good,
Thank you very
D-Man.
much. So, just talking at the minute about expectations for Newcastle United going forward, not talking like Eddie Howe staying, etc., and how that impacts it, but a question I'm asking at the minute is, by May 2029, so 3 years' time, what would your realistic expectations be for Newcastle United? Is it alongside the Hopkinson best club in the world by 2030, or is there someone else in mind?
Let's be honest. There's no way we're going to be near that level by 2029 or 2030, should I say?
Nah.
Looking at the trajectory that we're on at the moment, regardless of who's in charge, I think that we should be expecting consistent European finishes, top six minimum, challenging for Champions League. I don't think, given what we're up against, I don't think it's realistic to think that we will be in that Champions League every season. But I don't see why we shouldn't be in Europe every season. We've got a good enough squad. We've got some money to spend. Obviously, we're going to lose some players, but if we scout properly, I think there's no reason why we can't be an established top 6 team. I think that should be the expectation by 2029. 2030, this to challenging for top honours is unrealistic. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's testament what we've been saying so far on the show as well. So good to hear sort of a similar opinion. We'll move on to the next topic. So
before you do, can I just say one thing quickly? Because I was watching the show on the Monday, and I just have to say what happened with the Jefferson thing was out of order. I think Chris kind of was a bit sly there, what he did to Jefferson, because just to set the record straight, Jefferson didn't go missing. He didn't duck anything. Yeah, he was put on the Monday randomly, and he said he couldn't make it because of the bank holiday, right? He didn't know he was going to be there to debate Kev, I think it was. So just to put that straight. And then there was this talk about him, the tweets, he's doing the tweets for clicks. Yeah, and if you know Jefferson, he doesn't do anything for clicks. He's a straight shooter. You know, he wears his heart on his sleeve. That's the last thing you'd be wanting to do. And I think Chris putting his tweet up there without him being there was more for clicks and engagement. Yeah. So for him to say, for them people to suggest that it was the other way around, I think it is ridiculous. And then there's some donut tweet about him being performative. Like, that's just nonsense. That's nonsense. So what Chris should have done, yeah, if you wanted Jeff to talk about Jefferson and the tweet, you should have asked Jefferson beforehand because he knows Jefferson, or wait for him to be on a channel to defend himself and to go against this Kev. Because yes, him calling Kev a Muppet was uncalled for, which I think he would own up to. But everything else that went on after that, I think was a bit sly. So Chris, if you're watching, I think you owe Jefferson an apology, yeah? And big up for those who defended Jefferson and wait for him to defend himself, yeah? Because I think that was a bit of low blow by Chris. I think he put Kev on the spot and he aired out Jefferson unnecessarily. So just wanted to put that out there.
No, I appreciate it. As I say, it's a channel where we're supposed to have our debates. If people aren't here to have the debates, it makes sense. So fair play. I appreciate you coming out and saying it. So we'll move on to the next topic of the day. Recruitment is where we're going, and it's all about where the club's direction is on what actually happens with that recruitment. Now, Eddie Howe's come out and said that the aim is to try and recruit every window, but ideally not too many at once, like at the last summer where we saw 6 new players arrive, and he prefers a bit more of a drip feed approach. Now, I understand that. With a man who's meticulous, wants plan A to be perfect, too many signings at once can disrupt things. But 6 signings being a bit too much with the summer we have ahead is very, very concerning in my opinion. He's even suggested that high turnover combined with a lack of time on the training pitch was one of the reasons for results tailing off this season. I mean, they've tailed off from bad to worse rather than anything better, but we know that the squad's growing stale in a lot of areas. New energy is needed, new profiles, you need pace, you need technicality in certain areas. So the question is that drip feed approach actually enough? And Bogey, I'm going to start with you, mate. Did last summer's high turnover hurt Newcastle, or was the real problem the fact that we just left it too late? And is that the big thing for the summer? We don't repeat that problem.
I think that's a hell of a question. I think last season's players that were bought in, and I've said this from that transfer window, you don't buy players to be bench players, and that's what a lot of fans were, and even on this channel, we're trying to justify. We're saying we need bench players. You don't. You need to buy better players than you've got in your team, and the players in your team become the bench players. That's the natural progression of any football club. And that's what helps with the age of your team. That's what helps with, moving the team on as a squad. What we did was, let's go through the signings we made. We signed Ramsdale to replace Dummett. So not Dummett, sorry, Dubravka.
He might as well.
He may as well have. Was Dubravka a worse keeper than Ramsdale? I don't think so. I think he was a better keeper. Was Chow a better player than Schar? Potentially, but very much alike. If Schar hadn't been injured, he probably would have got the chances. Was Ramsey a better player than Longstaff? I don't think there's much difference between them.
I disagree on that one, but
yeah.
Continue. I disagree on that one.
Was Zalanga a better player than Amron?
Haven't seen.
What were the two up front are a bit different, but were either of them lesser players than the players were sold? We went into a summer and we didn't improve on the team. We improved potentially on the squad. And maybe he's got better squad players. That's never ever what you should be doing as a football club. And if we go into this summer with that sort of attitude now, we are absolutely knackered. We are in big trouble because don't care what Eddie Howe says, we need 8-9 players this season at least.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just before we move on, super chat in there from Wazza saying, bit strong D-man, Xing Jefferson, really be nice. I will always tell people to be nice, but if people have a gripe, I'd rather they edit and people talk. Because let's be honest, we're all here and we should all just get along.
Just to say, Jefferson hasn't been axed. He wasn't available for the show. I'm sure we'll see Jefferson before the end of the season. He'll have his own say.
Yeah,
but
people are telling him how to support Newcastle as well. Yeah, he's been a fan for over 30 years, and people are telling him support the Harlem Globetrotters and nonsense like that. Just leave him alone, man. Leave him alone.
But to be fair to the channel as well, we'll have to see it the other way as well. Jefferson's the first guy that'll come out and say, look, he made a little bit of a mistake by saying Muppet about one of the presenters on here. Yeah. But we'll all get along. We're all good mates off the channels. What people don't realise, it's not as if there's nastiness there. It's just sometimes it gets a little bit heated when you're here, and sometimes people forget we're live. When we come on here, we've got seconds to say things, and we'll say things live, and you've got to sometimes then come off and think, was I a little bit wrong there? But Jeff is a great guy, and Kev's a great guy. Let's not call either of them guys out on the chat or anywhere else.
I was just going to say, I didn't see it, but if it's Kev that's getting called a Muppet, I would say, and
it is worth noting.
I can say that because he's my son.
I
can say that because he's my son.
Do you know what I expected there from Ian was? Remember from the Muppets, animal with the drums.
The animal with the drums. Can I answer your question, Michael, about the fact that the lateness of the players coming in has obviously hampered them being embedded into a team and having new systems of play and playing every third day. I get that you're not training through the week, so that must have had an impact as well. And it should be completely different this summer because it's not Eddie Howe doing one at a time and starting to go for this player and failing and this player and failing and going right through the summer. That was a problem. I'm hoping Wilson has these lists and he's doing the negotiating, and there's 2 or 3 targets for each position that they need, and they'll get some in early. That's how it's meant to work. So,
absolutely.
But I don't know how can possibly expect he's only going to make 4 or 5 signings when there's 4 or 5 guys leaving because they're out of contract. If you then put in that Gordon and Tonali and Livramento and all the rest that get actually their heads turned and leave, they'll have to be replaced as well. So
maybe
he's just going to have to suck it up this summer, isn't he?
But maybe he means that. I mean, I don't agree with him saying this, but maybe the 6 squad players that he might need, maybe it's because he thinks that the likes of Alanga, Ramsey, Visser will have that pre-season to settle in, and they're going to be his main guys, which is worrying. But I think maybe he's thinking he's going to put his trust in them and then have people to supplement them in the squad, which I think is wrong. And also, he thinks he needs a smaller, not a bigger squad because he's only been playing 1 game a week.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to guess. It doesn't look like Alanga's going to turn into any world beater. But then Lewis Hall started slow. Anthony Gordon started slow and turned into fan favourites the following season, didn't it? So it might be that Alanga is going to produce something. I hope he does. He certainly he certainly looked when he was at Forest that he could. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. We've got enough. We haven't got enough in the reserves to not have new players come in. I don't think.
But
I'd
I think,
love
Ian, if you look at it, if you
for
support
Parksy's
people, I
son to
mean,
come in.
yeah, I mean, if you support people, look how you support Kev, your son. You know, in regards to this channel, you know, you give him the chance. You've got him on here, and you know, if you can do that with people, they take off sometimes. So you know, is with you and Kev. You know, if you've got somebody that you love and want to succeed that much, then you know you go with it.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't worked out for Andy Howe, but hopefully it goes a bit better for Ian's kids.
I think if Toon Army goes, then you've got Lewis Miley to step into those boots. But we haven't got half a dozen Lewis Mileys to come in, and
His
I would
injuries are
say
starting to worry me,
I would
though.
say Alex Murphy
Agreed.
could take over from Kraft. I would say that I can never know his name. What's he called?
Park Sung-soo.
That one. Park Sung-soo. I would hope could get some starts or could get some sub appearances if it's Gordon that goes.
Do you think he's
There's
going to get the opportunity?
Trevan, what do you call
Not
him's
for
coming
me.
back as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he'll apparently be
Sanusi.
coming back. Lorient weren't exactly fond of him. It's been said in the chat they don't play with wingers. To be honest, they rotate the system so much. Sometimes they'll play with a two up top. Sometimes they'll play with a three, which does involve the wingers. Sometimes the two attacking midfielders will play so far out wide they're practically all wingers. But at the end of the day,
A kid sent abroad that can't speak the language as well. I mean, how tough is
yeah,
that?
yeah,
It's
it's
bad
the
enough on
wrong
bloody
move.
holiday trying to get a beer, let alone trying to get yourself embedded into a new football team.
Chips, por favor. But you're completely right. Embedding a young player into a team in a foreign country is always going to be difficult, and particularly when they don't speak the language. I'd rather have the youth players in with the squad, and potentially making appearances in those games like Karabag. But as D-Man's suggesting, should I say, I don't think he's going to get in there. Any of the youngsters are going to get minutes. It is something that apparently Eddie Howe has been told that he needs to improve. Apparently, yes, he is very big on youth development. It could have fooled me the way things have gone so far. But just before we move on, Peter, I haven't asked you, mates. Do you think we need more than 5 or 6 players joining in this summer?
It's looking that way, isn't it? I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see if it works out that way, because they're going to be forced into making a fair few signings, whether they like it or not. So, like, you've got the right back situation with Trippier.
Yeah,
I think the goalkeeper situation is obvious as well. That they want a new goalkeeper. Fabian Schar I think is probably going to leave. That's what we've been hearing, isn't it? The rumours are that he's not going to be offered a new deal, so that means new centre half is probably needed. So that's 3 players straight away. That's like needs must. And then you've got
Kraft and Lascelles makes 5, Peter.
yeah, but there you go. So maybe 2 centre halves. Elanga has been an absolute disaster. I mean, like you say, maybe he'll come good. Maybe. I mean, it will take a lot, I think, for him to turn it around. In my opinion, I think he's going to need to give himself a good shake and change his mentality. To me, he just looks like he hasn't settled one iota. So
yeah.
I'd be surprised if that turns around. I mean, you never know in football. But I'm just thinking, do we not need a new right winger, as well? So, and also, I just want to put this to use, right? What do you think about this? But for me, I think it's a strange one with the centre mid area, right? Because I think we've got a lot of talent in that area, like Bruno, obviously Tonali, Miley. I think Ramsey is really good. But so that's four centre mids, you could say, a really kind of good standard. But I feel like one of the issues there is they're all kind of the same.
They're all
So it's not a
eights.
slight on any of them, but it's just I feel like they don't complement each other very well. And I think we could do with a bit of pace in there in the middle. So that maybe that will come into their thinking for the summer signings as well. I don't know, but what do you think about that?
I think we need a DM and a creative midfielder because I think, like you said, I
Six
think
and
they're
a
all
10.
DM as well. DM, yeah.
because they're all pretty much eights. You know, some are more attacking than others, but they're all number 8. They all play the 8 position. That's their best position. So for me, we've been screaming out for a defensive midfielder for years, and for some reason, he doesn't want to buy one or play with one. And we need a creative midfielder. You know, we lack creativity. Bruno's not there. There's no creativity in that midfield. So I think we need a dynamic, someone who can break down a low block, because that's something we fail to do. Opposition just give us the ball deliberately because we can't do anything with it apart from give it to the wings, and our wings are up to scratch. So he needs to try something different and sign a different profile of player because they're all very athletic, can be physical, but we need someone who can put the foot on the ball, dictate play, and actually defend and hold it so the rest of them can do what they can do offensively.
Yeah, I think pace as well. If you think about those players, none of them are lightning quick, are they?
True.
In terms of going forwards and like cutting through that way. But yeah, I totally agree as well about the number 6. I mean, I'm thinking maybe Miley could be that number 6 if they asked him to do that and try and mold him into that role. I don't know, because he's got that kind of stature, isn't he? Where I think he can cover the ground really well, and he's got a good footballing brain. So I don't know if maybe that's something that is worth thinking about.
I like Miley's passing range to think he would be more likely to be a 10.
He could do anything, to be honest, couldn't he? I mean, he's got a
why
world
don't
at his
we
feet.
buy players in to play the proper positions that we need played? You know what? Rather than trying to, we keep saying develop players. Why we're trying to develop Miley into a right back for next season? You know why we're trying to develop players into Baltimore into a central midfielder? Why we're trying this sort of crap, basically? You know, what we need to do is play players in the right positions, and if we haven't got players in that position, buy somebody in who plays that naturally. If you're a natural player in that position, it's a lot easier than trying to develop a player into that. Wazza will say very much a thank you for your chat as well, but we'll not read that one out today, mate.
Yeah, I was. You beat me to the punch there. I'll be completely honest with you, mate.
I missed it.
Well, you can go back and check.
He's chatting as usual.
Yeah, you've got that right. Let's go through some of the chats. Phil in saying, forget our recent recruitment being terrible. Our loans of youth players have been even worse. Yeah, absolutely. I think something's come out this week about Cordero having a good game. In Spain, it's probably the first time I've heard anything positive about our youngsters in a long time. Michael in there saying, depends on who leaves, but for me, we need about 5 new players. Troll saying Burns should be sold. He's 34, and that's too old unless you're world class. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I just don't know who would come in for him at this point, to be honest. Maybe a newly promoted side might come up playing 3 at the back. Maybe who knows?
I think he's still got a lot to offer at centre half. Burn. He's the England centre half man.
Lads,
I don't want to see him ever play left back again, though.
I just don't want to see the amount of games he's going to play next season. That's actually concerns me. I don't want to see him
38.
Do you guys think if we don't lose any of the front players, then this transfer window is going to be all about defenders? Is that because you know when you look at it, we need a goalkeeper, we need potentially 2 right backs, so that's 3 players. We need a centre back and we need a left back. That's 5 players. If that's the 5 players, they're all going to be defensive. You know, and as long as we don't lose anybody further forward, we'll stick with what we've got.
That's not good enough. It's
not, but is that where we're at as a group?
Get started. They'll be so keen to get started, they'll sell Asula in the first couple of bloody weeks to get some cash in.
Well, we're going to lose Gordon anyway. Gordon will definitely go, so we have to
Gordon
replace.
Will go, so we'll have someone in the front line to
so that's 7. That's then up to 7 players we need. This is getting a nightmare of a transfer.
Then you start looking at Jacob Murphy and Joe Willock, who've only got 1 year left on their contract. Barnes as well. I mean,
8, 9, 10.
They either get new contracts or they should be replaced. I think Murphy and quite like Willock now. Actually, I think he's played quite well in recent weeks. He seemed to be returning to his form of about 6 or 7 years ago. But
I feel like we get to
Murphy,
this point though where he has a few good games and then we're like,
Yeah,
oh, he's not, and then he just lets it down again.
perfect
Unfortunately,
time to sell him.
yeah,
Hmm. I think a big difference with Willock on Saturday was where he was playing, behind the
Yeah.
striker. And if you remember back when he went on that run when he came to Newcastle on loan, he was basically playing that role then,
that's
wasn't
right,
he?
he was.
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, darting into the box behind the striker,
Suits.
and I think he kind of like exceed. He sort of like that's where he exceeds that kind of
Yeah.
position where he hasn't got that defensive responsibility as much, you know.
So it's a 10 and a counter-attacking side sort of
Mm.
thing. I think the main issue with that is Howe apparently doesn't want to play as a counter-attacking side. If he did, I think he'd be spot on. I think you'll end up going to another club in the Premier League and actually doing pretty well because you'll play that sort of position. But I cannot see it happening at Newcastle. Niall in there as well. Well, you mentioned just how many players we need. 8 or 9 players before sales. And then Beggar in there saying doesn't trust Howe with transfers. Let's hope someone else chooses the players this time. I think we're all in that. And it leads me into my next topic because one of the more interesting lines in the regards to the recruitment side of things is the shortlists being worked up. We hear that every season, but the fact that for the first time under Eddie Howe, more off-the-radar, data-led targets from abroad are being considered. Now, for me, that's a big shift because it felt like last summer, it was, I like this player, go get him. If it's more of this data-led, and we don't all like data-led decisions, but in this case, I'll take it. Newcastle shopping in a different market. The need to find this value is pretty obvious. But if we do go for this, more data-led, off-the-radar targets, where should Howe's input on transfers start and end for you? D-Man, I'll start with you, mate. Should Howe have the final say on transfers, or does he somehow move up the line a bit?
Well, let's be honest. He seemed to have the final say on transfers last summer, and he screwed it up. So, in that respect, no, he shouldn't. He should be involved in the negotiation, the scouting and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
the worry is that if he's not, then is he going to actually play these players? You know what I mean? Because he goes with his tried and trusted. You saw that the weekend. He went back to who he trusts, yeah, and he's gone for physicality and height, stuff like that. So what's to say that we buy these young, dynamic, creative players or whatever it is, but they take, like I said, they take time to settle in the into the Prem. Howe takes a long time to embed them into the first team. And if they have a bit of a wobble like Voltemade did, then they may not see the first team see a start again, or we played out of position. So I don't know. It's good that we're linked to these different type of players, but is it just a smoke screen? Because we're still linked to Trafford. I'm not against Trafford, but Trafford seems to be moving up the ranks again. There's talks of Liam Delap. So really and truly, are we going to see a different profile of player? I'm not so sure, because if he has the final say, you know what kind of player is going to come in. Yeah. So to me, he needs to be at arm's length and be told you need to integrate these players into your team. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, it's just going to be the same old nonsense that we see week in, week out. 100 miles an hour, pace and power football with lack of control. So let's see. I'm interested to see what happens, but seeing is believing. Seeing is believing.
Yeah, 100%. And let's be honest, we've seen how it's happened the last few seasons. That sort of heavy metal style football works for a period of time, but there is a time where the club needs to move on and play a bit more of a controlled possession style eventually. But these data-led targets, Peter, do you think they're going to be more of the athletic side of things, those kind of players that we see how typically go for?
I'd like to
What
think
data
there will
you've
be
put
a
your preference on, isn't it?
change, a bit of a tweak. Go on, Ian. What are you saying, mate?
I'm just going to say it depends what the data is that you've highlighted as the data you want to put more of an emphasis on. But I'd like to think that they've been building up lists of players that they're interested in, doing their research and whittling that down a bit. And then Howe gets involved there and maybe picks his favourite 3 on each of them and leaves it for
Yeah.
Wilson to go and see which one of them he can land.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
how
like the thing is, like the first
we
choice
keep him
target.
away from the negotiations and the yes or
Mm.
no's.
Well, I mean, they've had obviously kind of stable setup now for a while, so you hope that you're going to see the benefits of that this time, going into the summer. But in terms of, like you say, Ian, who's making the phone calls and all that stuff, and obviously they've been preparing for this window now for a little while by the sounds of things. So hopefully they're all in sync that way. I think the first choice targets last summer, some of them, I like the sound of. I mean, obviously we know they missed out on Pedro and then Sesko and then Ikitike. I think all them would have been, one of them would have been quality. But I think it's the way that they couldn't react very well to missing out on these players and the way it dragged on. Obviously, we all know it was a shambles in the end.
We heard João Pedro wanted to stay in London for about a month before he actually
Exactly.
signed for Chelsea.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
were still bidding for him on the day he signed for Chelsea.
Yeah.
But I
He
mean,
could
even we
reject
knew
us
that he
twice.
wanted to stay in London. Move on,
Aye.
Eddie, move on.
Yeah. Aye. I mean, we saw that with Gahey as well, didn't we? So yeah. Like I say, you just got to hope that they've got a more, like I say, more stable setup now, with that structure in place. I mean, I personally, it's just my opinion. I just think in football, the manager, whether it's Eddie, whether whoever it is at any club, really, I just think they should always have the final say. Maybe not on like development players. I think there should be scope for like development players to come through the door from the director of football. To say he's someone who's going to be in the under-21s, and he's as a director of football, you've got the right to bring that player in under certain criteria. I think when the first team is concerned, I just think like I say, any manager who you have at the football club, they are the ones who's ultimately it's their head on the block, and they're working with these players day in day out on the training ground. So I think, I think what would be good is if like Eddie is kind of like collaborating, and you don't want to just say I want this player, I want that player, and I don't want to hear from anyone else about any other players. They should all be getting involved. Nixon and the DOF, they should all have ideas themselves and bring that to the table. And it's up to Eddie to be kind of open-minded that way and say, well, that's a good shout. I like him. I just think ultimately then, if you start bringing players in that he does not 100% on board with, you're kind of asking maybe for problems there. I think whoever the manager is, I think you got to live and die by backing your man, basically. Unless you're going to pull a Freddie Shepherd and try and get Wayne Rooney last minute, do you know what I mean? And make executive decision to do that. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I know some people think the DOF should have final say, but yeah.
That's the thing. As long as there's a structure in place that everyone agrees with and actually flows, I'm not sure many people care how it would actually sit. But just when you see it fail time and time again in Newcastle's transfer windows, it does make you ask the question. Just before I move to the two lads at the top of your screen, I'm gonna just go to the super chat from Wazza. Primark have some gems. Well, I maybe would trust them for my socks, but not for my strikers. Thank you very much for the super chat, Wazza. Ian, moving on to you, buddy. Where do you think do you think Howe should have less input on transfers than he has done previous, or do you think if with that we might just end up with another Nick Voltemada, as some have said?
Well, like I say, I think he's close to Wilson. It's his choice, wasn't it? I think.
Believe
So you'd hope that there'd have been communication between the pair of them throughout this year when lists are being drawn up. He's probably had the input. Yeah, he sounds good. I don't fancy him, so he's not on the list. But I do, if they can then whittle that down, as I say, to 3 choices for a right back, 3 choices for a left back, and there's one that's developing quickly. If Howe wants him, just leave it for Wilson to tie it all up. But don't they talk? We'll look close like we're going to get this fella. How would be going? Oh, no, I don't fancy him. But he should be saying, yeah, great, get him. He's good. You might
Yeah.
be saying, what about that one that was top of my list? He's not coming fair enough, and he's the next best. Let's have him. But leave that for Wilson and his team to do, to go and
You know what?
negotiate. Because they can
Yeah.
talk to more than one player at once if there's a team doing it. And I think Howe was really spinning plates last year, trying to do all the negotiations on each individual player himself, getting knocked back 1,000 times, but at the same time trying to integrate the team back for a pre-season and get ready for a Champions League.
They do reckon he was part of the reason that chaos unfolded, though, don't they? And, I'm not going to say, yes, that's definitely was or he wasn't. What you can say is that he wasn't a big fan of Mitchell, and then Mitchell disappeared. Not literally. But so
there's an old saying: you live by the sword and you die by the sword. How last season brought in £250 million worth of talent over the past few weeks. 230 odd of it's been sitting on the bench. So how do you justify that as fans? How do you justify then giving him potentially another the same amount of money this season? He's probably going to get £250 million. How do you justify doing that again? If you see a car crash coming and it happens, and then you think, hang on, let that driver jump in the car again and drive the same car into the same situation, and the same car crash happens, how do we sit here and fans and just justify that? What difference have you seen from...
Is he responsible for the Visa sell-on clause that Brentford get a little 25% or whatever it is from a sell-on? Is him? Exactly. Whoever is responsible for that should be sacked immediately. If it's him or his nephew,
mate.
Sacked. Yeah? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, Wissa, when he came in, should have came in for £35 million at maximum at the start of the window. And would have been over bloody paying then for him, would have been massively overpaying them for him. But the reason that it happened was because Eddie Howe and whoever you want to see, his brother-in-law, his sister-in-law, his cousin and his mate, who, had controlled the transfer window, just wouldn't let Isaac go. Let Isaac go straight away. Bring Wissa in so you're not panicking about getting a striker. What happened towards the end of the window was we're absolutely crapping ourselves because we had no striker available. So, we had to go out and buy people. And whether the right people for the team, whether the right player for Eddie Howe's squad, 100% not.
You see, Borky, that's where I feel like Newcastle, I want to see Newcastle pipping clubs like Brighton and your Bournemouths who go and get these players like Ryan in January that Bournemouth went and got. I think in that situation, that's what, in an ideal world, Newcastle should have been prepared and have an extensive enough list to fall back on these players when, the whole Isaac saga was going on and it's last minute and they're kind of scrambling around. I think, it would be nice to see them broadening the horizons a bit and getting these gems that you see coming to the Premier League at your Brightons and Bournemouths, and
Peter,
we should be picking them hopefully those kind of players.
Yeah. We're going through the same situation again. In January, Hodgkinson's came out and said there was money available. So why wasn't it spent on buying a defender? We all know we need so many defenders this season. Why wasn't that money spent so that it takes a bit of the pressure off?
Yeah.
And it's the only person that he can put that down to is Howe, because if the money was there, any other manager would have spent it.
I can only think that he just thought, I don't want that to eat into the budget for the summer. Like, rightly or wrongly, obviously we can disagree with that.
I think he's more likely to think, I'm really struggling to get all of these new players integrated into how I want to play anyway, because we're not training. The last thing I need is 2 more coming in, even if I need them. I mean, can remember towards the end of that bloody transfer window being told that Dan Burn would be back soon and he'd be like a new signing. My God. The writing was on the wall then, I think, wasn't it? But both Wilson and Hodgkinson said that I had money to spend and we needed it. We needed it because we had a bit of an injury crisis going on there and the kids weren't getting paid. So
defenders
were 13 or 14 of them playing 3 times a week.
You're completely right, Ian. Defenders are probably the easiest type of players to sign. So in a January window, a defender is probably the easiest type of signing to make. And we just didn't do it. There wasn't even really rumours around with buying players. That's the biggest worry, As a manager, Howe knew we had money He knew he could have controlled the transfers, but he just decided not to do it. It's a strange old decision to me, really strange.
The only thing I can think with it, and I said at the time I thought it was a sign that Eddie Howe was leaving. Turns out I was wrong. It happens. But one thing I will say, for me, it looks like Howe's looked at the January window and gone, there's no value here. He knows how much he spent in the summer. These players haven't worked out. Another one comes in. It doesn't work out. Let's be honest, it wouldn't have made that much of a difference to the season, very likely, because he likes to embed players in. They don't start too much unless they have to in the early days. So maybe that's the thought process. The only thing I can hope is that whoever they maybe earmarked in January comes in June, and we don't wait till the end of August again. But another area, just to move swiftly on to one of the topics in the title. There's the apparent goalkeeper shortlist. So James Trafford's on it again, as you've all heard. We've spoken about James Trafford a lot. I'm not going to bring him up again. But the other two names on that list are apparently Robin Risser and Bart Verbruggen, who looked more like Nick Pope at the weekend than any other goalkeeper I've seen other than Nick Pope. Because it was like you had a mirror image in both goals. Absolutely atrocious on both ends. For me, I don't think any of those... Well, maybe Robin Risser. I haven't seen too much of him myself personally. But if they're the three options, I don't feel very confident at all. Bogey, what do you think?
I've got to be honest, I've never seen either of them play, so I can't really give an honest answer on this. The one thing I would say is with Trafford, Eddie Howe had this list of players when he first came in that he wanted, and he's just kept with it. It seems to be the problem. Elanga was part of it. Wissa seemed to have been part of it. Trafford seems to have been part of it. Can he change his list a little bit? You get sick of the same songs on the jukebox at a club. Let's change it up.
Yeah, completely.
But I can't give opinions on the other players because I've never seen them.
Trafford is still a good shout for me. Trafford is still the best shout out of them for me. I think he looked really good. We'll watch closely in the matches. How many times have we played against Trafford this season? 5, is it? And I was impressed with him, and I wasn't impressed with him before much. He's going to have... The thing is, he's already on fortune, so he's going to have a wage cut to come to us. And it's going to cost a lot more than the 25 that we balked at a year or two ago. I don't blame him for not coming here and going off to Man City when they came bouncing back on the clause that they had inserted. Because he thought he was going to be first choice at Man City. Then they went and bought Donnarumma 2 weeks later. It pissed me off.
I think it did the same to Trafford as well, to be honest. To be honest, most of the Premier League are linked with him at the minute. D-Man, is it a bit of a concern that we've got 2 Premier League goalkeepers in there? One who wasn't really too highly rated before the start of the season in Trafford, and one who seems to drop clangers in Verbruggen. And then, for me, an unknown in Risser. Maybe you know more about him.
I don't really know much about Risser, but let's be honest, the other two, they're all better than what we've got. Pope and Ramsdale, because they are diabolical, right? Now, Verbruggen, he made the error on the weekend, but he's better with his feet than Pope, and he's a good shot stopper. Trafford, he's better than Pope, but Eddie Howe's obsession with him needs to be studied, because I don't know what it is. He's not that great. Like he's decent, but he's not good enough to be obsessed with him season after season after season and hanging on to him, hoping he's going to become good. And like you said, we're going to have to pay through the nose for him now. So I don't know. Yes, he did well against us, but you're playing for Man City. Yeah. So how good are you? Most keepers look good playing for Man City. So, I'm not too sure if he's going to be that much of a significant upgrade to justify what we'd have to pay for him. But again, there must be other keepers out there. Like it is concerning. There must be, we've got these scouts. You've got Wilson now. They must be able to scout better keepers or younger keepers or more exciting keepers across Europe or the world than those 3. Like they scream Eddie Howe. 2 of them scream Eddie Howe signings, and that's the worrying thing. The obsession is concerning.
Keeper-wise, you've just got to look at the guy that Sunderland bought, who's fantastic, under 20 million quid. There's nobody from Belgium that's Man United's keeper looks pretty good.
Man United's keeper as well. Yeah,
he cost 14 million out of Belgium. The scouts need to be feeding back who they've done their work on, and let's find a. Can't remember his name. Let's find that Sunderland keeper to play for us.
Transfer window all over if we're going to go down this route of the players we're mentioning, because it's Premier League proven players by Eddie Howe. He's got this obsession that he will not move out of the Premier League. He's got this obsession that he will not to go to other leagues, and you've got to do that. You've got to, as a club in our position, move on to other leagues.
And don't we need two keepers?
All his best signings, Borky, all his best signings have come from Europe, though. You know what I mean? He's got Bruno,
but
Isaac, Toon Army.
You've heard me mention.
None of them were Premier League proven.
But you've heard me mention before. What have his percentage of signings been that are Premier League proven? 78%. 78% of the players that have come into this club since Eddie Howe's been here have been Premier League proven.
Passion merchants.
You'd hope that would be a stat that would change now Wilson's involved in drawing up the list.
Well, that's what you're wishing for, yeah, exactly.
Paying for dozens of scouts
exactly what you want
for the world.
But that's exactly what you want
all over the world
so
to feed everything in.
In which case, you shouldn't be paying 40-50 million pound for a second-rate keeper at Man City. You should be picking up a player from abroad who's better.
I think of the three that were mentioned, I thought he was the best option. But the moment's passed to be able to go and get Trafford. Gonna put 50 million quid out on him, and then and him need more than 200,000 to come. That is a real waste of cash.
But it's
because
impossible.
There's bound to be these under 20 million gems in France, in Belgium, in Italy that can come and stroll straight in. It's not like you've got to be Premier League ready to be a goal.
Just a quick question, you guys.
You're either a good goalie or you're not.
Who would you keep for next season? Would you pay the 16 million and keep Ramsdale? Or would you sell Pope? Or would you keep Pope and not take up the option on Ramsdale? What would...
That's why we need two keepers. Get rid of them both. Get rid of them
both.
Yeah, but if you had to keep one, I'd keep Ramsdale. I'd keep Ramsdale and get shot of Pope. Pope, he's done. He's done. He can't even dive to his left on the foot because of his shoulder injury too much. The brain farts that he has every game now is costing us. He got lucky against Brighton with the pass back. He cost us the goal for the distribution. He's finished. He's
so lucky.
Yeah, he's get rid of him, man. Get rid of him. Keep Ramsdale if you're going to have to keep one of them.
Yeah, I'd be getting rid of both personally as well. Ramsdale just because of the wages more than anything. Wages are a big thing for Newcastle at the minute. I know we're not going to pay outrageous wages, but you want to get that down where you can, and you can bring in. I mean, there's people have been talking about Robin Rissa. I can't imagine he's going to demand a high wage. At 21, from what I've seen, this is his breakout season, so you can't really say a goalkeeper's going to do well in a more physical league because of that. But I sound like Eddie Howe when I say that. Prem proven all the way, but.
Can I ask you as another quick question? And who do you think will start in goal for Newcastle next season? First game of next season, who do you see being in goal? Because I say being Pope. I say being Pope.
Lewis Miley. If Eddie's still anywhere. Lewis Miley.
If Eddie's still in charge, I think it'll be Pope in goal at the first game of next season.
Yeah,
you're probably right.
You're right.
Can't be. I'd be surprised. I mean, I know what you're saying, Borky. I mean, I don't understand why he's brought him back into the team recently. It's just baffles me. I know Ramsdale isn't much better, but like you have said, we saw it with Nick Pope on the weekend. He looks absolutely petrified when the ball comes back to him. So that's a really strange one. I don't get that. And I think this summer, you'd like to think it's time for him. He's been a class servant. Don't get us wrong. You know what I mean? Nick Pope has been brilliant for Newcastle in the sort of the first few years that he's been here. But this season, I think it all started with the Celtic match in pre-season. You could see then he was done. So, unfortunately. So I'd like to think that, we will have a new number one. Surely, I think starting next season, it'll be a different goalkeeper.
Do you know the other thing as well? I think we need to get out
What's
the
Steve Harper
mindset.
doing these days?
I
Not
think we need
much.
to get. He's a Sunderland fan anyway. I think we need to get out the mindset these days now of being frightened to get rid of players. You know,
Yeah.
I think the problem is because we've had the cup win, and those players will be heroes and wise for years to come. You know, we hold them in a light, but I think we'll have to get out of that light. You know, and be ready to say they're not good enough anymore. We need new players.
Yeah, 100%. It was one of the things that came out of the meeting that they had, apparently, that we need to be more comfortable selling players. A senior source was quoted as saying that we need to be more comfortable selling players, and you're completely right. We do get a bit emotional attached to players. J7 is one that I can imagine when he leaves, I'll be gutted, but I'll also sit there and go, yeah, it's about time. Or he should have gone 2 years ago if he doesn't go either this summer or the next. So a lot's been going on. Obviously, we're apparently willing to listen to offers for Johan Wissa as well. I don't think he's going to be one of the ones that people cry about leaving. And we also plan to extract maximum value for Odysseus Vlachodimos after his spell at Sevilla. So that's £5 and a pack of Freddos. So we're not getting much for them either. With that in mind, if there's 3 players Newcastle sell in the summer, because we've established that we need their replacements for Trippier, Fabian, Schar, Ramsdale as a minimum, who are the next 3 to go that give Newcastle a chunk of money to spend and the actual chance to rebuild? Ian, I'll start with you this time.
I think Anthony Gordon's top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
I would have said Tino Livramento, but I don't know if his injury record's going to put people off. I thought he's already gone. He's not getting picked. I know he's meant to be injured. I have my doubts. I hope Tonali stays, but I think Tonali's been talking about going for so long that it'll be him as well. That'd be my 3.
So Gordon, Tonali, and Tino. Peter, what do you think, mate?
I'd go along with it. I put those 3 forward a few weeks ago when we were talking about the summer back then, and I thought about who could go in terms of like this rebuild that looks like is needed. I thought about those 3 players potentially leaving and actually not having it not really be that big of a deal if we can be proactive enough to, get the replacements in. Gordon hasn't done it for a while now, and we all know this season he's been. I know he's got a decent goal tally if you look at the stats, and fair play to him for the penalties and all that. And I do think up front, he's done a decent job at times this season. I think for me that's when he's played his best football up front. But as a left winger, I think he's checked out at times, to be honest.
Hasn't done the business, has he?
Nah. I would look to sell him. If Barcelona want him, then bloody hell, brilliant. Bayern Munich, if they're lining up to have him, queuing up, then that's perfect. I just think get the money for him. You can get someone better with that money. And Tino, I love Tino in one way because I think he's got massive potential, and we've seen how good he can be down that right hand side, even down the left hand side, at left back. But I just feel like his head is maybe a bit like Gordon. I don't know, but his head's gone a bit. He just seems really lackadaisical. Recently, anyway. I just wonder about that. Whether he's got that defensive nous to be a top player. And with Tonali again, on his day, great player. I love watching him when he's at his best. But like I said earlier in the show, like we've got some decent players in the centre mid who all do similar. They've got similar attributes, and I think with Bruno there, Miley and Ramsey, that would kind of reassure me that we might not miss Tonali as much as what we ordinarily would have, and maybe that would free up a bit of room, like we've said, to get someone in who's either going to be a number 6 or get someone who's got more guile and more kind of craft to unlock the doors in there in the centre mid. So yeah, I would say those 3. If you sell them, it potentially doesn't mean it's the end of the world. They've just got to be proactive enough to get the replacements in,
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got 2 in for AG, Tino and Tonali. We'll Captain Bruno in there saying as long as it's not Bruno Miley or Hall and David Spencer in there saying Tino and Gordon as well. D-Man, what about you, mate? Is there 3 you've got in mind that you'd sell?
That I'd sell. Like everybody else, Anthony Gordon's number 1. I think he's overrated. I think he rates himself higher than his actual ability. And I think he thinks he's too big for the team. I think since Isak left, I think he feels he's the main man. And I think Eddie's gassed him up to believe that for some reason. Him playing a striker, all right, he scored a lot of penalties and he ran a lot, but I don't think he pulled up any trees. And on the left wing, he looks out of sorts. He looks unbothered. That Crystal Palace game when I watched him, moping around the place, not putting in the effort. I think that summed up his season. So I don't know how much we'll get for him because Bayern will try to undercut us. Barca can't afford him, so it's looking like Chelsea or hopefully Liverpool or Arsenal coming for him and pay. I'd take 65-70 million for him. I don't think we'll get more than that. But he's number 1. I think Tino as well. I think he could go, but like Ian said, his injury record, I think that might put off a lot of suitors. So he might be stuck and sign a new contract. But I wouldn't mind seeing him go because he's good. But I think we could replace him and be okay. He has a nosebleed once he gets into that final third of the pitch. He can't cross a ball. He can't shoot. So yeah, he's not like Lewis Hall. So. I think we could do that. It wouldn't be that much of a big miss if he goes, if we replace him properly. The third one, I don't know who I'd want to go. I think Tonali is nailed on to go. I think we will miss him severely because I think we underappreciate his actual ability and his talent. I think if he was surrounded by better players, you'd see a lot better from Tonali. He always puts in 100% regardless of what's going on the outside. And I think he complements Bruno. We've seen, especially last season, how they complemented each other. I will, miss him when he goes, but I think he will go. But I also think there's a chance that Voltemada goes. If Eddie Howe doesn't show him any signs of he's going to play him regularly in a position that he favours, there's going to be suitors for him. And will he go after 1 season? I don't know, but we could get good money for him. If he's not happy, if his agent starts making up noise, who knows? So he could be another one to go because I think the 3 that's mentioned will go, but he could be one as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, I completely agree. And reports coming out of Germany saying he's not aiming to leave, but he wants clarity. And the lads spoke about it. Oh well, the lads and Christina spoke about it on the earlier show as well. That clarity over the role, and it comes as no surprise, really. He wanted to be central striker. Instead, he's playing the deepest midfielder at times. So yeah, I completely get it. We would get probably 50 mil for him off buying because they said they were willing to go somewhere around there, and that we were absolutely mental. I think it was 50 million euros actually. Mental for paying that price. Bogey, what about you, mate? Who would you have down as the 3 you'd sell?
Being honest, I'm going to look at it through different eyes. The right people to sell this season, at the end of this season, would be Barnes, J7 and Murphy if you're going for upfront players. Because you're then getting money for players that are getting older, but you can get a little bit of money for. So the right route of action is actually to sell them players. I don't think it'll happen as a club. I think we'll keep hold of them, but they're the right players to sell. And I don't disagree with any of the other guys in regards to exactly what they've said about the players who want out the club and, do want to be here, Gordon, and that sort of thing. But if you look at this from us, in regards to progressing as a club, and if we had succeeded this season and we had some sort of great chance next season, so we had at least European football, at best Champions League football, the 3 players you would be looking at getting rid of, as I say, would be them 3.
Yeah.
So, it's it's a strange one because we're looking to get rid of better players that are younger than what we've got, and that's always a bad situation to be in.
I agree. It's
Yeah.
a decent shout that about J7 because, yeah, I think his time is, I think, coming up to an end. Maybe it's sooner rather than later. Anyway, I think maybe now is a good time to cash in on J7.
I think the other two are even more sensible because they're just going into their last year of their contract, aren't they? Murphy and Barnes.
Last year or a couple of years, yeah.
So what do you do with them? Do you extend the contract or do you keep Barnes because he can stand in for Gordon if he goes and
So
then he leaves at the end of the season on a free?
I think Barnes could leave.
This is the problem, Ian.
definitely.
We keep rolling into this situation where we've got older players that we keep offering new contracts to roll down the ground, and we're not getting younger players in to replace them.
Let's be honest, Murphy's going to stay because how the character around the dressing room and stuff.
I'm not saying I'm right at all, but I'm saying that's what I would do.
Yeah.
See, I like with Barnes. I really like Harvey Barnes, but he was playing himself out of the club for a few weeks, wasn't he? Before Saturday, and I was kind of thinking, is he going to be the one of the players to leave and be for this rebuild to happen because he was just off the boil totally. But I think on his day he is quality. I do think his application is better. We were talking about Anthony Gordon before, and I think yes, they've both had off days, but I think Barnes is still. He's turned up way more often than Gordon. I think his intent is still there. The application is kind of still there. Unlike, like you said, Anthony Gordon.
You know, my worry is we'll keep hearing this thing. One more season.
But do you not think he could be a decent squad player? I'll put that out there. Harvey Barnes.
He could be, but if you've got to bring in a new left winger because one of them wants to leave, the right decision is to get rid of Barnes and to bring in a younger player to back up Gordon. That's always got to be Gordon.
I just said what I was going to say.
What was that, Ian?
Barnes as a winger should be a provider, and he has said, as Niall put there, he's got 0 assists all season.
Yeah.
What sort of a winger is that?
Gordon doesn't really assist either.
Yeah, they're not. The wingers haven't done their jobs at all this season, either.
Well, I've said that. I said that in a game before. When was the last time you heard Gordon running down the wing? Gordon, that song, it just doesn't happen now because none of our wingers go down the bloody wings. The cut inside, and you could understand it if Walter Mortar was playing up there and we were playing a tighter game, but we're not. The only one that really gets crosses in is Murphy. And look what happens at the weekend when that happens.
Yeah, he does have an absolute peach in him. Although it is usually 1 in 12, I will say with Murphy. I will say I'll be happy when he goes, to be honest, in the end. Which is mental because I made a shout 2 years ago that he could be playing for England in a few years before his run of form. Which is baffling. I don't know why I did that. But the one thing I'm looking at with this squad, there's genuinely not a single player who I look at and go, yeah, they're definitely staying this season for next season. And the one that's maybe closest for me is Malik Chow, because I know we want 80 million apparently, and I don't think anyone's going to pay that. Particularly when Milan were only after 20 off Como less than a year ago. Legitimately, every single player in that squad could leave. Maybe Bruno, but if Bruno turned around and said he wanted to leave, no one would blame him. Been an absolutely fantastic servant, and it goes back to how saying he wants to drip feed signings into the squad. He genuinely might not have a choice, and for me, I don't think he will. I genuinely think we're going to see not a mass exodus of players, but we're going to see a lot of players leave. And that is going to have a massive impact on what we were talking about at the start of the episode about expectations for Newcastle going forward, because a lot of these players might not even be here. So just to close it off there, not sure if anyone's got anything else they want to add before we go.
Just on the defence, Michael, Botman just signed a new contract, so he'll stay. Byrne isn't going anywhere. And if we can hang on to Hall, then you can keep the same defence and just drip feed a right back into it to evolve. The bad news is that back four is not good enough to finish anywhere other than mid-table on this season's evidence.
Yeah. So we'll need something.
Oh,
in
that's a good point. Where do you think we are as a club? Do you think we are a top of the league club, or are we a mid league club, or a bottom of the league club?
Anything between 8th and 12th. That's where we are.
We're in that
That's not good enough,
secondary
is it?
tier. Outside the top six, you're like long term. You're Aston Villa, your West Ham. I'd have in there, Everton. Those sort of four after the top six. Where there, us and Villa are the ones more fighting at the top. Villa have overtook us now, unfortunately. They're going to get consistent, not consistent Champions League, but Champions League 2 out of 3 years. We've took a step backwards. You know, for me, we're just behind there. We should be fighting with Tottenham and Villa to get that final, maybe top 5 spot. But we've took a step backwards. Villa have took a step forwards.
I think if Tottenham stay up, they'll surpass us as well. They've got a
good
serious
chance.
manager and they'll attract decent talent as well, I think. So
Was as just saying there in the chat, new signings, Michael and Borky centre-backs, Ian midfield warrior, Peter and D-man up front. What a team that would be. What a five-a-side team that would be. We'd have to play rush keeper.
Absolutely sorted. Get on the blower, Hopkinson.
We could, Borky, if it's 5-a-side, we can get you to play in goal, and you just have to sort of lie down like that, and they'll never get through that, will they?
Oh,
right. Before things get a bit tasty,
I'm a good-looking bloke when I lie down. Like you're right, mate. I think that would get the lasses to sing with a team.
Striker against the front, he's just like, hang on, I don't want to take a shot at this.
Sitting there having a tab.
Lovely stuff. So massive thanks to everyone on the panel for joining me this evening. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thanks to everyone who got their super chats in there as well from the show. Just trying to get kicked out there. That's great. Was I given in a few ads in there as well? And Prosaic gifting a membership at the start of the show as well, which went to Emmett Griffin. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Let us know in the comments if you're watching this afterwards what your genuine expectations are for Newcastle United. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Please do so. It helps us out a lot. Subscribe to NUFC Talk TV. Check out D-Man, Jefferson and the 90s Mags if you haven't already. And we will be back with you with more Newcastle United reactions and news tomorrow. How are the lads?
How are the lads?